This is Solo Only, a character that can't interact with other players. From our humble beginnings as a marauder in Limsa, we have crawled, clawed, and forced our way to the end of Heavensward. 472 hours from that very first step, another stage of our journey has reached its conclusion. Facing off against impossible foes, relying on the craziest schemes imaginable to upgrade our equipment, and pushing Final Fantasy XIV to its absolute limit. This is that story. The story of how we soloed all of Heavensward. Actually, hold on a second. Is that what he really looks like? No. Solo, you've got it all wrong. You're not a green-haired plumber. This mustache is out of control. But don't worry. This is just one quick crafting section away to fix with today's sponsor, Manscaped, baby! I've used Manscaped for a long time because I'm a nervous dude and it's nice to have the reassurance that the razor is built to keep me safe. And with the newest 5.0 performance package, Solo's got everything he needs to make himself presentable and handsome. Honestly, when they offered me the sponsorship, I was pretty excited since I actually know and trust their stuff. This is the one I've used for a few years now as proof, which has now become a cat shaver. The 5.0 package has some amazing things in it. The Weed Whacker 2.0, Crop Soother and Preserver, some free boxers and a tiny shed, and finally, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which just okay. If you've ever used an electric razor before, it leaves a lot of stubble. It doesn't really get everything, and so you've got to go back and use a normal razor to clean up and blah blah, but this little dude right here gets rid of everything. As smooth as Solo's head with his old haircut. I mean, here, just watch. Now you're looking good, Solo, so get yourself back out there. That was the easiest armor change yet. If you'd like to be smooth like baby's bottom, just like our dear Solo here, head over to manscaped.com and use code WRATH for 20% off, free international shipping, and 2 free gifts. Wait, does having a sponsor count as being Solo? This is Solo Only, a character that can't interact with other players. For the past 300 hours, I've had to do everything on my own. No market board, quest rewards, parties, or NPC support, and completing every dungeon or trial with level sync or silence echo so long as it was possible. 1 year later, we finished the first chapter, A Realm Reborn, and things can only get harder from here. All of the progress for this account is streamed on Twitch every Thursday and Sunday, in case you ever wanted to stop by. With Heavensward unlocked, we've reached a new world of opportunity and 2 of the strongest abilities in our arsenal. Yet, at the same time, we're more restricted than we've ever been. Starting from Heavensward, we're locked out of all the zones on the map until we've progressed the MSQ, meaning that we couldn't gather or craft the items we needed for good gear until the final fights of the story. Look at this, a new in-room for us. This is beautiful. Originally, I was planning for Solo to take a little nap after completing Crystal Tower and unlocking Heavensward, but I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I so desperately wanted to play more Solo that we're just gonna be here. We're just gonna play Solo until I get sick of him. Repair your gear, clean your inventory. Okay, repair my gear. I don't think I can do that one. That's gonna be asking a little bit much. Heavensward unlocks a crazy amount of stuff, but the most important is we can finally upgrade our armor. We could do Feast of Famine now, even though I don't really want to outwardly admit that, so that I'm not forced into doing it immediately. Starting on the main scenario quests, the first zone we get access to is the Sea of Clouds, but only half of it for now. The main thing I need is to be able to make max potions, because if I have to do another bit of Palace of the Dead for grinding out potions, I will lose my mind. A few quests later, we step away from the MSQ to turn my warrior into an unkillable monster. Better axe around, let me get my quests, I'm desperate, please. Tricked by a different quest on my map, we continue the MSQ and unlock the second area, the Coerthas Western Highlands. And after realizing my mistake, we're back on track. At level 54, the Bare Necessity quest gives us access to Fell Cleave, an incredibly powerful attack, but not the abilities we're looking for. Trudging through Coerthas Western, this takes us to the third and final zone, the Dravanian Forelands. Quest done, at level 56, we've finally reached the real reward, Raw Intuition. This singular ability turns our okay-ish warrior healing into an infinite ocean of health. We've got Raw Intuition. It's good. That's it. I never have to do a quest again. It's over. See you later. For 6 seconds, 3 total hits if I do it properly, I heal for every enemy I hit. Even against a single target, we'd heal for around 4,000 HP, almost double a max potion, and we could use it every 25 seconds. On its own, Raw Intuition could carry us through most fights, but there was one more ability we still needed to get. The level 58 quest gives Equilibrium, an instant heal for 3,600 health. It has a much longer cooldown, only usable once every 60 seconds, but this was still a massive improvement to our healing capabilities. And the quest completion also came with a little surprise. We've leveled up to level 62, and now I have to slot Equilibrium in somewhere. Oh, wait, hold on. I can actually use Onslaught. That's not a quest required. We finally have a dash. This is amazing. Look at this, look at this, look at this. What, wait, no. Wow. Hey. With our best abilities unlocked, we continue with the MSQ now, right? It's time to fish. No, please. I can't even make the fishing for likes and subscribes joke. I already did that one, please. Feast of Famine. No, I don't want to go back. Don't do this to catch the Feast of Famine fish, we need to meet the minimum requirement of 400 gatherings, so here we go. I don't know, man. This looks good enough, maybe? No, oh my god, my gear is terrible. Dark chestnuts, please just give me a wyvern skin. Some nice tea leaves, please just give me a wyvern. Oh, thank you. Why would you drop Dommel skin? Just let me skin the giraffe. Leather, oh my god. Leather, Dommel skin gloves, Rami, flax. Okay, last thing is hard silver, so we're headed to the churning. I haven't unlocked that yet. I can't even make it. Okay, new plan. Setter fishing rod. Cedar, not setter? No, it's setter. What is happening? Forget discovering a new location. Catch the man. Mithrite sand. Setter. Mithril fishing rod. Done. Good night. Hello. Hoping to start off some Feast of Famine fishing. We're waiting around an hour for the first fish to spawn. How does this relate to Ravana? We popped through a bunch of MSQ. We're going to Mr. Emanelian. It's great to see you, Emmanuel. Mr. Vanilla, it's great to have you here on this TV show today. What is the quest that you have for us, if you don't mind me asking?
So, I'm actually going to need you to run around in the Sea of Clouds for a little bit. And then once you're done in the Sea of Clouds, you're actually just going to kind of just go die in a...
Okay, that's very nice of you, Mr. Vanilla. We are on daytime TV, so I don't think you're allowed to say that, but thank you for calling in, and I will, I hope that you have a wonderful day. Don't ever come back on my show. Why is he giving you this quest over a supermarket to noise system? I couldn't tell you. I also don't know what that word means, so that's a new one. Time to babysit the Fort Thames fails? No, we love him. It's not babysitting. It is guided teaching. Okay, we're showing him how to be the best he can be. Am I losing my mind? Maybe. I've been streaming for 4 hours. That's kind of grounds to be losing my mind. Tataru as a primal is my favorite conspiracy theory. Speaking of conspiracy theories, I'm very anti, actual conspiracy theories, but I really like the funny ones. The harmless, little funny ones are my favorite. Tataru has so much power, even Estinian fears her. Exactly. You know, that kind of stuff. What's the funny conspiracy theory we can have? Does Estinian not showering count as a conspiracy? Yes. Estinian doesn't shower. That's the conspiracy we're going with. Alphino is incredibly buoyant. What does that mean? He's just really good at floating. It's just, oh wow, that one made me lightheaded. Oh, that was great. Beat up some knights, unlock Aether Current so we can get flight, and completely forget to go fishing. The next morning was the first time it was mentioned. The biggest wall in the entire expansion, and one of the few remaining fights that could end up as a complete dead end for the account. Bismarck won't be too bad to solo. I'm a little worried about Bismarck ad phase, but that's a problem for another day. For now, we add a new chocobo to our team. I'm gonna name you Terrence. Maybe Terry for short. Stop by a very green Holotolly, steal Shiva's arena to fight some dragons, and unlock the first dungeon in Heavensward, Dusk Vigil. While this dungeon isn't required to complete Heavensward, it is required if we ever want to fly in the Western Highlands. Time for an easy win to start the expansion. Nope, okay. That was tragic.
Here, out in the fields, we can see the great griffin stood upon the snowbank. Let's just try and get a little bit closer for a nice view. and she's gone. What a majestic creature.
Glad to see that it excellent jest, Lord. Can we please say that every time I make a joke? Can we just start saying excellent jest, my lord, every time I say a joke from now on? That would be beautiful. Could be a nice... Nope. I got the Holmgang animation. Holmgang went on cooldown. Would you believe it? We died. They move so fast that I can't run away from them. This is starting to become a problem. Okay, that's cool. My pants are gone. What the heck is this mob pull? This is ridiculous. Dusk Vigil sinks us to level 52, meaning we can't use either of those fancy abilities we unlocked earlier, so we swap over to Gunbreaker for some better healing. Oh, and I have to get to the point where I can collect the stuff for max potions now, so I can just start crafting those. We're gonna have to craft those in the hundreds, and I do not have any desire to go back to Palace of the Dead to collect them myself. Being an Ultimate Legend applies -3 to int, and it gives the enemies a +4 dodge, so they just never get hit by any of your attacks. I kind of see why. You know, I can understand why they make it harder for Ultimate Legends, because if it was easy, then we just wouldn't be able to play the game normally, you know? We would die to normal mechanics because of how bored we were. Of course, that would be the only reason. With Gunbreaker's healing, the trash mobs went a lot easier, and we're on to the first boss, the Towering Oliphant. Down for the count, and then he targets Woolly Inspiration at me. And then I'm stunned for 10 seconds, and then he knocks me into the air, and then I'm down for the count for 5 seconds. I'm sorry for underestimating you, good Oliphant. Please just calm down a little bit, maybe. We could breathe through this together. We could be friends, you know? Maybe we just got off on the wrong foot, on the wrong trunk, you could say. That's a pretty good one. That's like an elephant joke, but it's, I'm sorry. We can move on. We can pretend like I didn't say that joke. The Woolly Inspiration combo is a total of around 14 seconds stunned and unable to move, and past 75% health, the Oliphant can do it twice in a row. I have been routed. Wow. That is a boss. Oh my god. Okay. One more attempt ends the exact same way, and from the very first boss, this dungeon isn't going to be possible on level set. Or is it? Dusk Vigil is a side quest, not the MSQ, which means there's one more class we can try. The strongest class available to us, Blue Mage. While we may not be as tanky on blue, there's a single spell that makes up for it. A one-time use that only the first boss is weak to. Our 15-second instant kill, Doom, turning the most difficult dungeon boss we had faced yet into nothing more than a short jog. The only problem is now we have to do the rest of Dusk Vigil. After a lot of running and more deaths than I'd care to admit, we're at the second boss, Sir Uhelmeric. Unlike the Oliphant, Uhelmeric and the final boss are both immune to Doom, meaning we'd have to fight them normally. Thankfully, the majority of his attacks are casts, giving us plenty of time to run away and heal as needed. Aside from the little friends he summons, he's a decently easy boss. Our main strategy is to weaken him with bad breath, and use Song of Torment to slowly damage him while I run and heal. A bit overconfident in my damage, I try to end the fight at 40% health with a big explosion. 22,000 damage in a single hit only does 30% of his health. Time to do it all again. With my explosion on cooldown for 10 minutes, it's a long fight, but we eventually make it through. Easiest boss of my life, let's go, dude. Alrighty. A few Ice Sprite deaths later, we're headed towards the final boss. Gamers, I have a question. Very important question today. Would you still love me if I was a worm? Of course we would. Absolutely. Great. I'm glad that the worm is still given the respect of royalty that it deserves. I have a better question for you. As we enter this boss, would you still love me if I was a Minecraft streamer? No, banned. Hell no. No, absolutely not. No, below. I could do the worm, but Minecraft is a bit much. Alright. Now we're faced with Ophinicus. Constant tank busters and high auto attack damage. Ophinicus barely has any casts and moves as fast as our sprint, so there's almost no way to kite it for healing. Alongside that damage, Ophinicus casts Whirling Jail, summoning a hurricane in the center of the arena. The hurricane pulls you in unless you're hiding behind a rock, preventing you from taking any actions for a few seconds and dealing heavy damage at the end if you're hit. This essentially forced me to stay still and take the boss's hits. Over 4 deaths, we couldn't get the boss past 80% health. My Blue Mage gear was outdated and much weaker than it should be for this dungeon, so we decided to step out and save the Dusk Vigil clear for another day. Back to the MSQ, we reached the Dravanian Forelands. After some quick dealings with the Voth, our progress is ground to a halt by the first trial of Heavensward, Ravana. First is Warrior level synced. Ravana, unfortunately, syncs us to level 54, 2 levels below Raw Intuition, so we're stuck with the same healing we had in A Realm Reborn. In his first phase, there's only 2 things we need to deal with. Blinding Blade, an instant tank buster that hits for 3000 damage, and Seeing Tail or Wing. Seeing Tail places 2 shields around Ravana, one in front and one behind. If Ravana is hit from the front or back while this is active, he'll attack whoever did it with Revengeance, dealing 1000 damage and knocking them away. Seeing Wing is the same thing, but on his sides instead of front-back. Since Ravana is focusing on us, Seeing Tail means we can't deal damage for 6 seconds, and Seeing Wing is completely ignored. We can get some extra hits in if we go to the side while he's casting it, but it still ends up losing us 3 seconds. Even with just those mechanics, Warrior is dropped almost instantly. Swapping to Gunbreaker on level sync to try again, we face the same fate. After 2 more deaths, we were going to need better equipment before we tried again, and we had to hope that there even was any equipment we could craft with our limited areas. So we step away and end the day with more disappointment, trying and failing to get the Namataro for Feast of Famine. This time around, we've got 2 options for gearing up. We start one right as the day begins, but I'll tell you about that later when it's more relevant. The other option is crafting new gear. Searching through all of our available crafting nodes, our best chance was titanium ore, which would turn into eye level 133 armor. A very small increase, but it was all we had. Has anybody seen a set of Dalmal skin pants anywhere maybe? I think I might have left them outside. Oh, there it is, my Dalmal skin breeches. Titanium ore, Dalmal skin and unlocking whistle for our blue mage, dark chestnut logs, iron ore, and grenade ash to make titanium nuggets and rivets, Dalmal leather, linen yarn, rami thread, and rami cloth to craft a titanium chest piece, gloves, and helmet. Then, with a bit more iron ore, titanium boots. The last thing we need is wyvern skin for wyvern leather to make our Dalmal skin leather pants. A brand new armor set for taking down Ravana, and with the best crafted gear we can make, it's time to properly learn the fight. Even with the upgrade, level sync is a no-go. So let's skip ahead to Silence Echo attempts. With Silence Echo, we can make use of Raw Intuition and Equilibrium, skyrocketing our chances of survival. Breaking out of the first phase, Ravana jumps to the center, gains a stacking damage increase, and begins an incredibly long cast, Prelude to Slaughter. A large AoE centered on Ravana, followed by some lines to dodge and getting to the center. Right after is a second long cast, Slaughter. Standing directly behind Ravana, dodges the blades he shoots out, and then some more AoEs to dodge. Once these are finished, he gets a second stack of damage up and begins his first Enrage. But we'd die before we could even see it resolve. Swapping to Gunbreaker to use Aurora's passive healing, we get to properly see Bloody Fuller. Spirit Ghana, small blue butterflies float down and land in the arena. Sometimes they'll start by attacking you, but all of them eventually cast Falling Laughter. If they aren't killed before the cast finishes, a giant sword slams down into the arena. A larger orange butterfly, Moon Ghana, will also spawn, but it's the same deal, just way more health. Once all the Ghana have finished their casts, Ravana begins his Enrage. For every sword that landed in the arena, he'll hit us with Laughing Moon, dealing massive damage and giving a vuln stack, increasing the damage we take for 2 minutes. To even consider surviving this, we would have to kill almost all of the Ghana. Yet another wall in this fight, we're back to the drawing board, so I step away and sleep on it to try and come up with a new plan. There's one incredibly important item I had been missing during the Ravana fights that may have made it just the tiniest bit more doable. I need max potions. It's not really an option. The only problem is I don't know if I'm able to gather the stuff to make them, which does force us back into Palace, which I really don't like the sound of. Almost every ingredient for max potions wasn't available in our current areas, and likely wouldn't be until the very end of Heavensward, meaning the only way we could get them was in Palace of the Dead. But in my desperate attempts to avoid going back into Palace, we found the second option for upgrading our gear, and unlike the first, this would be an astronomical difference. Daily Hunts, a list of random overworld mobs provided by the game for you to unalive in your spare time, provides us with Centurio seals. And there just so happens to be a vendor that provides otherwise unobtainable gear for a few seals. Where previously our best gear was eye level 133, the gear for Centurio seals was eye level 180 and 210 respectively. This gave us access to gear that we otherwise couldn't get until the end of the expansion. So we had part 1 of the plan handled. Now we just needed the rest. All the food we had available to us was horrible for DPS, so we'd be sticking with the flint caviar we used in A Realm Reborn. And there wasn't going to be any better accessories either. With that covered, we jump back into Ravana on Warrior to try and get past Bloody Fuller before I committed to the grind. I cannot stun the little bugs, which is unfortunate but expected. No, okay, that's fine. Just need to heal, just need to heal, just need to heal, just need to heal. Rampart, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, please. I think we get that. I think that's it. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4... 4 stacks? Very doable. Super doable. 2,000 damage. Okay, that's easy. Easiest game of my life. Reaching the final phase, Ravana gains a damage up and uses Pillars of Heaven, a knockback forcing us to the edge of the arena, followed up by Supernaka. Supernaka is consecutive instant hits from the boss, each dealing 2,000 damage. After 3 Supernakas, he'll cast the Rose of Hate and summon 3 orbs around the arena. The orbs will chase you until they eventually explode, giving a vuln stack to anyone hit by them. Then he goes back to Supernaka, 10 times in a row. Pillars of Heaven knock me away, preventing me from healing, and we have lost another attempt. One more try, we survive the Supernaka and make it to the next phase. Gaining another damage up, he casts Swift Slaughter, the worst part of the entire fight. Ravana dashes from the center 4 times. The first one targeted at me and always hits, and the other 3 in random directions. Every time I get hit by a dash, it gives me a vuln stack. Without other targets, those 3 dashes were uncontrollable, so I would just have to hope he didn't hit me more than once, because otherwise, it's a guaranteed death. Then, he'll either use Prelude to Slaughter or Slaughter from earlier before moving on. Another damage up, we've reached the final mechanic. Tapsaya, a conal AoE in front of Ravana, hits once, pauses, and then hits 2 more times in the same spot. Every time it hits, you get knocked back, but otherwise it's an easy attack to dodge if I'm paying attention. Seeing Tail and Seeing Wing return from the start of the fight, occasionally forcing me to stop attacking. Atmalinga is a raid wide for 1400 damage without mitigation. The second time he uses Seeing Tail or Wing, he doesn't turn to face me, standing still to use Atmalinga twice instead, making it a small chance to heal. After 4 total Seeing casts, he gains another damage up and starts the cycle over from the first Supranakas. But we wouldn't live to see it. That is the entire fight. We had seen everything, and to have a chance at surviving those later cycles, we'd have to commit to the plan from earlier and start grinding. Palace was the first thing on the list, as much as it hurt me to say it, but I wasn't going to do it like normal. I would have to grind my Aether Pool back to a point where I could handle higher floors and then set up a farming save for potions, so before starting those hours of misery, there was something we had to get. We now had access to, objectively, the best class for soloing Palace of the Dead, Machinist, and I wasn't going in until I had it unlocked. Machinist starts at level 30, meaning we can't use the quest weapon to use the class since we were able to get a level 30 weapon from somewhere else. Once again, time for crafting. With some toad leather, black fire sand, and steel ingots, we craft a steel-barreled musket. Oh, that's level 34. The actual level 30 weapon was from the Grand Company. With Machinist unlocked, it's time for Palace. As per usual, this is going to be about 6 to 10 hours for me in stream chat and 10 seconds for you. With floor 40 complete, we were ready to start farming potions. The strat is pretty simple. Spawn in on floor 41, use an alteration, rage and get to floor 42, then kill the mimics or mandragoras for 1 to 3 max potions each. Around an hour later, we end things off with 271 high quality max potions. More than enough to deal with the sword bug. After one final check trying to take down Nirvana, we still needed the armor upgrade, so there was at least another week of grinding ahead of us before we beat this final trial of ours. Running around for hunts, practicing Ravana's mechanics, we get our first piece of hunt gear, eye level 180 gloves, and give Ravana another attempt. We were doing well, but still not getting close, as a single mistake at any point would end the run. And with another death using our Shire chest and pants, we had a lot more hunting to do. The next day, a bit discouraged from the Shire gear failure, we take a moment to check another tank option, Dark Knight, but after checking its future abilities, it was a dead end. I had wanted the extra damage that Dark Knight should be able to provide, but it lost out from the lack of healing. A week of daily hunts and some soloed A ranks later, we get a new helmet and boots to add to our arsenal. Worst case, we could upgrade with twice the amount of Centurio seals, but I was desperate to spend the day trying out my new armor. This time, instead of the flint caviar for more damage, we made Ishgardian muffins for the small defense and healing buff it would provide. And so, on a whim, still missing the most important pieces of my armor set, we face off against Ravana one more time. first Ravana attempt, I'm just going to be hard focused and doing my absolute best with this, so please excuse me if I'm not looking at chat for a bit. Chat, please take care of chat while I'm gone. Thank you. Two Volms should make this first phase easy. Now I'm just hard stuck on this bit. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Please, not now. One. Good. Just a bit more. One. Home ganked. Okay. Yes! 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 Yes, dude! Yes! Oh my god! Yes! Yes! Oh!
Thus does the city proclaim the victor. Lay my blades at thy feet, child of man.
25-minute swift completion. We're back to the swift completions. Let's go, dude. I wasn't looking. Could you do that again? Oh, yeah. I could. Yeah. Still using 2 pieces of the titanium armor we made at the beginning, the first trial of Heavensward was complete, and we move on to the next fight. Something so difficult that, by the end of it, I would barely remember Ravana. After taking 20 hours to defeat Ravana, we've got a new roadblock coming up to push us to our absolute limit. Unfortunately, Ravana's defeat doesn't unlock any new areas, so whatever the next trial may be, we'll be facing the same gathering restrictions we had last time. First, just to show how long ago this was, we get Solo's New Year fortune. Small fortune. Okay. Not terrible. I am still obligated to complete Feast of Famine on Solo, so we run over to try and catch the Endoceras before realizing that I'm out of gathering food. So we're gonna need some quick upgrades. No, 51. Level 51 is gonna be easy peasy crafts, right? Because it's just nothing. Just absolutely no effort. I must be speed 5 minutes left? What do you mean I have 6 minutes? Is that real? Do I actually have 6 minutes? No! If I have 6 minutes, then I think we're not gonna get it. One quick hour-long grind later, we've got some Remy Trousers of Gathering to make sure I can catch the fish in the future. Fishing done for now, we're free to start the MSQ and actually progress the account for a bit. Oh, we're at this bit. Oh, my favorite. It's time for the labyrinth. I hate this place. I still have nightmares about it, but I will do it. No. What the heck? There's stairs here. I know there are stairs. I've been here before. I'm not this stupid, I swear. There's gotta be something. Oh, not that hard, bestie. It is that hard, bestie. I'm very bad at it. It's all one color, okay? It's not my fault. It's all just orange and gray. I've made it to the Iron Feast. This is not where I'm going. Just look at the map. I am looking at the map. Put on blindfolded mode so I have an excuse. Good idea. Now, no one can blame me because none of you know where we're going anymore. This is great. I need to... No, this is so incredibly the wrong way. If this is the wrong way, then I'll try again. Hold on. Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely despise this place. I'm never coming back. Didn't even know that path on top of the mountain existed, but it looked like it should have gone there, right? This looks like it connected somehow, but I couldn't get there. It's not my fault, I swear. Please leave this in when you make the YouTube video. You'd die. Well, how? If I left it in, it would be about an hour. Me walking through that labyrinth. But you know what? Yeah, I could probably leave a bit of it in just for you, Han. I'm glad that we're... And? What do you mean, and? The videos are 20 minutes. After an actual 10-minute stint of being completely lost, we find our way through and reach the next roadblock, Somal. A dungeon rather than a trial, so things will be a bit easier for now. 2 deaths later, we've reached the first boss, Riskovnik. Most of its attacks are AoEs, except its main mechanic. Sweet Scent spawns hornets around the arena. Occasionally, Riskovnik will suck in its target with a conal vacuum. The hornets slowly make their way towards the boss or get sucked in with you if they're in the cone. Finally, Flower Devour will eat any players in range and any bees, dealing damage to the player and getting a damage up for any bee eaten. Thankfully, the damage ups are only for the final AoE, Spit, so they're not that big of a threat. We out-healed all of the damage it dealt, even without raw intuition, so we take it down first try. And leave the dungeon immediately to try and catch a feast of famine fish. After failing that, we're back in the dungeon. Riskovnik did again, we beat up some dragons and reached the second boss. Is that a staple remover? In a complete 180 from Riskovnik, we don't have to worry about mechanics, because this thing tears us to pieces before we can even see one. A few more deaths without reaching Primordial Roar, level syncing on Warrior wasn't going to be possible, so I head off to bed and do some brainstorming. Somal still synced us below the level to use raw intuition, the same as Ravana's fight 54. So we make some sunset wheat to make Ishgardian muffins and hop in on Gunbreaker for the stronger early level healing. How often do you all in chat think of the Roman Empire? Never, at least weekly. Okay, we've got some at least once a day. All right, thank you. For me, bare minimum, like probably once every 2 days. I don't know why. I really just have no idea, but it's such an integral part of my thoughts. Sorry, I just got back from discussing the Roman Empire with the boys. What did I... If I'm in my kitchen and I just have like a bit of bread, I tear off some bread from a baguette just to have a little bite, I can imagine my life as a Roman peasant, dreaming of one day having enough coin that I could have some olive oil to go with my bread. With enough healing to survive his normal attacks, we hit Nyath's mechanic on our first try back. Primordial Roar is an AoE hit that summons slimes around the arena. Nyath will jump to each slime and use an attack depending on their color. Blue slimes are an AoE targeted at every player, minimal damage, nothing to worry about. Orange slimes, on the other hand, are a much bigger problem, causing a party sack, which, without a party, deals a lot of damage. With mitigations, we can reduce it to 2500 and survive until the last iteration of Primordial Roar. At low health, a new slime, the Chime of the Mountain, joins the fight. If you can't kill it in time, it uses Last Song, an AoE that, surprisingly, only slightly tickles. Nyath done, we're headed to the final boss. It's like it didn't give us any problems last stream at all. That was the quickest wall ever. Yeah, it was great. Thumbnail made for him to die in one attempt. The poor guy. We beat up the dragons from earlier and push on to face off against Tiamat. Killing Nidhogg's wife? What did she ever do? She is a dragon. And I am an Elysian. Okay, that makes sense. Great. Let's start the fight. A Bisic Buster hits sporadically for around 2,000 damage. Glowing lights appear and fire off laser beams, and a comet falls on our head with a proximity AoE. It's a constant battle to keep our health up, but we've got just enough healing across our whole kit that we can survive to her second phase. At 50%, Tiamat heads to the center and becomes invincible, while her wings are our new target. Meteors drop, following us around the arena for the entire phase, while Tiamat casts Dark Star. While it doesn't doesn't do much damage at first, every Dark Star cast gives her a damage up, so we have to break the wings before she starts hitting unmanageable numbers. Compared to the DPS checks we saw in A Realm Reborn, this one couldn't even be called a check, as she only managed to use 2 Dark Stars before the phase ended. Wings down, she's back to the attacks from earlier, and we finished the fight in one try. An easy final fight that made what came next even more painful. Whoa, the like and subscribe buttons, I didn't know you could get that from this chest, wow! Some all completion time of 61 minutes, and we've got swift completion. Some all cleared, we've gotten our first new zone since starting the MSQ. Churning Mists added to our roster, we've got some new possibilities for crafting materials, but that can come a bit later. Continuing on with the main scenario quests, we're at a new dungeon shortly after, the hardest we would ever face, the Aerie. In contrast to that, this is the first instance that level syncs us to 56, meaning Warrior finally has better healing than Gunbreaker, so we can confidently pull as many enemies as we want and always heal back to full. The first boss is Rongda. With some easy to dodge AoEs, we're not facing any danger until Ionospheric Charge. Rongda tethers us with lightning that deals 3,500 damage and paralyzes you if you don't handle it correctly. To avoid this, the tethered player needs to run to a totem at the edge of the arena, making it the new target. After this, Alaic spawns, dealing a small bit of damage and slowing its target. Kill these before the next tether or you won't be able to reach the totem. We managed to keep things up until we ran out of totems and barely scratch out a victory. Beth becomes the first person ever to run out of statues during the fight. Some failed stealth later, we're at the second boss, Gyaskatus. The easiest fight in the dungeon, every mechanic is an AoE to dodge, so we're moving on without much effort. A swarm of wyverns blocking the way, we've reached the last trial of the Aerie, Nidhogg. As if to take revenge for Tiamin and show us what a real fight is, one singular mechanic puts a full stop to our progress. Deafening Bellow is an AoE that deals 2,000 damage. Hot Tail hits everything in front and behind the boss, while Hot Wing hits everything to his sides. Dragon Eyes appear under you, granting hysteria if you don't move away, and then Nidhogg flies off out of reach. Cauterize is a simple line AoE before landing back down and casting the Sable Price. Sable Price is... Ooh, okay. I need huge mitigations for this one, and some way to heal it. That's a tank buster as well during it. And Sable Price is an instant. Ooh, I'm just dead. Like Titan's Jail, the Sable Price fetters us, preventing us from taking any actions for 17 seconds. While we're fettered, Nidhogg hits us with a tank buster and other attacks, but none of those matter. After those 17 seconds, the Sable Price uses Sable Weave, dealing 10 million damage. For Titan, we just needed enough HP that we could survive after the jail crushed us, but this? No amount of health or mitigation was going to do anything. We were brought to a full stop and needed to find some way to survive 10 million damage. Hopping over to my main, there were a few things I wanted to test. The first was if we could skip the Sable Price. If Nidhogg had a mechanic that started after a certain HP, getting him there before he used Sable Price would let us avoid it entirely. But it's a set pattern. No matter how low he got, he would always use the Sable Price after landing back down. So now, we only had two options. Use a damage over time like Ninja's Doton to kill the Sable Price in time, or kill Nidhogg before he could even cast it. After some more testing, from the start of the fight, we could hit Nidhogg exactly 21 times before the Sable Price killed us. 21 attacks to defeat him, or we're dead, without question. Looking around at our gear options, we ask the Great Orb for its wisdom and head off to plan out our next steps. Taking down Nidhogg in 21 GCDs was not my first choice. Ninja's Doton has done us well once with Titan, so I was happy at the idea of using it again for the new jail. But before that, I haven't actually used a Ninja since Titan, so we need some gear upgrades. Titanium ore for titanium nuggets, Dommel hide and dark chestnut logs for Dommel leather, hard silver sand, Rami stalks for Rami thread and cloth, latex for rubber, rose gold nuggets, and silver ore for hard silver nuggets to make a titanium mask and a Dommel skin jacket, gloves, boots, and pants. Full set of armor made, we just needed a new weapon. Mithrite ore, a small interruption. The fourth hotbar being out of sync with the others is driving you insane. Oh. This one? Sorry, yeah, let me just fix that real quick. Is that better? Yeah, every time someone mentions it, I move. No. Every time somebody asks, I fix it. Hello, streamer, why is Hotbar 3 not aligned with Hotbar 4? Oh, you're right, my fault, let me fix that. Oh, wait, this is a good one. Let's just have it there.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're right, this is way better. This is messing me up so much now that I'm looking at it. Oh my god, I can't remember what button does what anymore. I'm so confused. Make Hotbar 4 go up and down. And then I'm still gonna put it right in its rightful place. So what am I making the hotbars into a box around? Yes. Yeah, this is art. 2 and 10? I don't even have a oh, you mean this one. Oh, of course. Right. So 2 and 10 means I've got to put this here, and then 10 will go back and be part of the box. There we go. Now Solo is safe from strangers, you're right. Hotbar 1 is going invisible. No, you can't swap my skills. That's where I draw a line. I would never be able to do anything again. Even when I put them back, it'll be ruined. It is a chair, you're right. The gamer chair has arrived. How many gelato flesh? We have a lot of gelato flesh. This is probably overkill. How many did I actually need? 3. Great. Please tell me I saved my old HUD. No, I never save HUDs. I'm gonna have to piece this back together myself when we're done with this joke. And then we have to leave the inventory screen up. Okay, this is perfect. I can't even see my character anymore. My absolute best. Sync this up properly. There. So are we satisfied now? Are we happy? Freed from the chair, we grabbed some titanium ore, grenade ash, and iron ore to make titanium rivets, mithrite nuggets, and void glue for our titanium, knives. Geared up and ready to go, we hop into the Aerie, die a few times on Silence Echo, and then start trying with Epic Echo. But with the crafted gear we had, we couldn't even kill the first boss, so we're back to the drawing board. Epic Echo, a buff given when you enter a duty with unrestricted party selected, would give us a % boost from the very beginning. At our level, it gave a 30% boost for Ninja, but the higher our level was, the stronger the buff would get, going all the way up to 200%. It seemed as if no matter what we did, we'd have to level a class, and it was looking more and more likely that we'd have to aim for killing Nidhogg in 21 attacks. Desperate to avoid leveling anything new, I give Warrior a try on Epic Echo. With stronger gear and a 60% Echo buff, I was hoping that we could do something, but even with all that, we could tell from how slow the first boss died, this wasn't happening. So, we're going with option 2. Kill Nidhogg before he casts the Sable Price. And there are only a few classes that can do it with our gear. The 2 options I had to choose between were Samurai and Reaper. We'd need to get the class to level 71 so it got the 200% Epic Echo buff, meaning if I chose Samurai, I'd be leveling in Palace of the Dead for 21 levels, but Reaper only needed to level once. The choice was obvious, but now I'd need a Disciple of War at level 70 so I could unlock Reaper in the first place. Testing our best method for leveling, my Warrior could gain 100,000 experience in around 15 minutes using Somal, but then chat mentioned an option I hadn't thought of. Blue Mage levels faster than every other class because of its increased experience gains while killing monsters in the overworld. Dooming an enemy near my level would get us 50,000 experience in just about 20 seconds, 45 times faster than my leveling with Warrior. Blue Mage might not be able to progress the MSQ, but it's a Disciple of War, and that's the only requirement the Reaper unlock quest has. A Disciple of War at level 70. So the lucky winner is grinding Blue Mage to 70. Our main source of experience was the level 57 Loth found outside Ravana's arena. We tested out a few other things like Orimvel's first boss, but in the end we stuck with the Loth all the way to level 65. The problem with leveling Blue Mage is that the experience I get from killing monsters scales with my level. The higher level I become, the less XP I get. But we did have a strategy to fix this. Fates. Fate enemies give heavily reduced experience for Blue Mages, but who said we had to kill Fate enemies? Well, level synced from a Fate, the game fully treats you as if you are that level. So, synced down to the Fate's level, we doom the normal enemies around it to gain the normal Blue Mage experience. A stable 30,000 XP per enemy, no matter what level we hit. The best Fates for this grind were Come to My Arms and Wear the Maiden Fair, which took us from level 65 to 70 in around 3 hours. 8 total hours of grinding, we used Blue Mage to accept the quest quest, and Reaper is unlocked. Well, kind of. If there's a replacement for a quest reward, I can't take it. So we can't use Reaper until we get a scythe for it, and there's only one place we can get that. Bright and early the next day, we head over to my favorite place, Palace of the Dead, which means 2 full days of grinding Palace for Aetherpool, we turn in our upgrades for a Pad Jelly Scythe, and now Reaper is unlocked. Despite our terrible equipment, after all that work, it's only fair I test out my prize. At level 70, we have a 60% buff from the Epic Echo, which increases to 200% if we hit 71. With no armor and a quarter of the buff we should have, we died to the first boss, but it was already better than our ninja attempts, so I was happy. Heading to bed, satisfied that the worst grind was over, we wake up feeling energized, knowing that I won't have to go back into Palace for the rest of this video. Now, the last thing on our checklist was new armor. I didn't need armor for the defense, as almost all of Nidhogg's attacks before the Sable Price were dodgeable, but we did need much better stats. Gearing Reaper with Centurio Seals, like we had done for Ivana's Clear, would take a lot of grinding, so to try and speed things up, we head down the crafting route. Yak Milk, Highland Wheat, and Cyclops Onions for Highland Flour and Sour Cream to make rarefied Dummel Gratin, turn them all in for White Scripts, and we've got the Masterwork recipe books for Armorer, Leatherworker, Goldsmith, and Blacksmith. It was a shot in the dark, and we'd need the Masterwork books later anyway, but most of the materials were out of reach, so it's time to hunt. To get the full armor set, we'd need 225 seals from daily hunt targets, a small list of enemies found in the overworld, or fighting A-rank hunts. A-rank monsters, large targets that spawn in every map throughout the game, would give us a lot of seals if we could manage to kill them. A Heavensward A-rank would net us 40 Centurio seals, and a Realm Reborn A-ranks would give 20 seals. The only thing to remember is I have to solo everything, and these are content in the open world for anyone to stumble into. Thankfully, no one does the A ranks in these expansions, but in the very rare cases that people joined the fight, I'd have to abandon, get out of combat, and teleport out of the zone before they killed it, so I didn't get any rewards. After 20 minutes of stress, anxious that someone could run up at any second, Lord of the Wyverns goes down for our first 40 seals, followed by our first successful Feast of Famine fish. Oh, we stood up! We stood up! I actually got one. I actually got a fish. We finally progressed Feast of Famine. One of the 6 legendary fish caught, we head over to a Realm Reborn to beat up Correa for 20 seals and grab the Acerin boots and gloves. Fornius goes down shortly after for another 20 seals, and our daily hunts get us 31, just enough to grab our shiny new hat. Next reset, we're back on for more hunts and start to pivot our plan a bit. The eye-level 185 gear Sky Pirate only required materials that we could get, at least for the chest piece. We still can't make any pants, so we'd need to get those with hunts. But now, instead of 120 seals, we only needed 60, so the daily hunts would be more than enough. We're 2 seals off? Come on, dude. Well, time to find an A-rank. Non is the first A-rank where other players joined in, so as per the rules, we run off, escape from battle, and teleport away to avoid the rewards. It didn't seem like there were any other hunts in this world, so we hopped over to Seraph and take down Marbury for the final seals. Hands obtained, we're finished with hunts and move on to crafting the final piece of armor. Before moving on, we've already put in around 20 hours since beating Ravana, so it's time for a playtime check. 334 hours, just under 14 days total. Now for our chest piece. Flax, titanium ore, bear fat, amphitheer skins, and deep eye tears before running into a small problem. The Sky Pirate gear needed Dawnborn Aether Sand, an item that you could only obtain through ethereal reduction. What's ethereal reduction? I had no idea myself, but it's basically just gathering a collectible and destroying it to get a chance at the sand. Which would be easy, except for the fact that our gear is so outdated that we fail most attempts to get the collectible. One bit of sand in our pocket, we'll need better gathering gear before moving on. Between miner and botanist, the botanist tools are easier to get the materials for, so we're set on chopping some trees. Titanium ore, dark chestnut branches, cloud mica, and iron ore for titanium nuggets, cloud mica whetstone, cloud mica whetstones, and dommel leather to make a titanium scythe and hatchet. With the gear upgraded, we grab our last aether sand, some more collectibles to trade in for cloud cotton and sphalerite, more dommel gratin for white scripts. No, I'm stupid! I haven't been making collectibles this whole more dommel gratin for white scripts, and turn those scripts in for a new chest piece and boots for my crafters. After 4 hours of grinding, we were finally— I can't hit the stat minimum to craft this thing. I was determined to clear the area today, but the gear we had still wasn't enough. So we took on a new angle, getting Reaper to 71 for the 200% epic echo buff. Rather than using Palace of the Dead, we ran around doing fates and leaves to complete our weekly challenge logs and hit level 71 in just about 40 minutes. Now we're back into the area to get our clear. And we can only hope that 200% is enough. Gauge is full. That's another attempt. I can get an extra 60 potency if I use a positional during my setup. That gives me a better OGCD. I get you. Alright. With a full GCD loss, we're at 21%. We're definitely going to need all of the different things we've been talking about. 21% away from victory. Level 71 wasn't enough. Thoroughly defeated, we take out the Lord of Wyverns one more time and head off until the next day. I spent the rest of the week doing my daily hunts with one goal. The answer that had been under my nose the whole time, the eye level 210 accessories. Unlike the rest of the 210 gear, they didn't have a class restriction, meaning that these were the best and only gear from this level that Reaper could use. 275 Centurio seals later, a full new set of accessories. And our weekly challenge log is reset, meaning we can take the chance to boost Reaper to level 72 and unlock Arcane Circle, a 3% increase to our damage for 20 seconds. One more rest, we craft some X potions of strength, and head back into the area one more time. I forgot to buff there. So buff is another angle if this doesn't do well. It's already a pretty decent success, but I don't know if this is kill here. Please? Come on, no, okay! Oh! Hey! As we got floated up, are you kidding me, dude? Let's go! Alright! Actual first try of the day, dude. That's huge. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm shocked that animation didn't interrupt that. After 41 hours of grinding, Nidhogg was defeated, and we were finally free. Freed from Nidhogg, but more trapped than we had ever been. Because the next fight just might be impossible. With our current spot in the main quest line, we've run into a problem. A big problem. At this point, the gear that's available to us is few and far between, to say the least. Almost all of the higher level crafted equipment requires items we can't get, and our biggest damage dealer, Reaper, is practically as geared as it can be. And there are 2 roadblocks left in our way before we get access to the rest of the map and the best gear in Heavensward. The Vault, and a trial that most people considered impossible with the solo restrictions, Bismarck. If we can't take down both of them with our current equipment, well, let's not think about that for now. Riding off the adrenaline of clearing Nidhogg at the beginning of stream, it's time to progress the story once again. Around 30 minutes of questing, we've reached the first of those 2 roadblocks, the Vault. After the last dungeon cost us 40 hours of grinding, the hollowed halls of the Vault filled me with anxiety and excitement. I was going to make sure this time was different. Even with level sync, we've got access to raw intuition, so most trash pulls aren't a threat anymore. With the extras defeated, we're on to the first boss, Ser Adelfell. He starts the fight as a normal dude with 3 adds, but after taking them down and dropping him below 40% health, he buffs up, heals to full, and the real fight begins. Holiest of Holy hits everyone in the arena for 1000 health, Heavenly Slash is an instant tank buster dealing 2000 damage, and Holy Shield Bash is a health check. Stunned for 2 seconds, he hits us twice with Solid Ascension for a total of around 4000 damage. At 70% health, he adds Shining Blade into the mix, dashing around the arena and leaving bright spheres behind him. After a short pause, the bright spheres will explode, dealing damage to anyone near them, and Adelfell slams down with an AoE hit, Execution, an incredibly flashy move that isn't all that dangerous with mitigations. Heavenly Slash ends our first run at 54%. Shining Blade is the last new mechanic he has, so with better damage reduction, Adelfell goes down on the second try. The next set of enemies blocking our path are surprisingly much more difficult to manage, but aside from the 1 death, we reach the second boss, Sir Grinno. The only attack during his first phase is Rive, a line AoE in front of him. At 50%, he gets his own buff and actual mechanics. Immediately after dropping down, Grinno casts Dimensional Collapse, hitting huge sections of the arena. Heavy Swing is a tank buster, and Hyperdimensional Slash is a consecutive line AoE that creates a dimensional rift along the edge of the arena. If you go near it, it tethers to you, dealing heavy damage. Faith Unmoving comes after, knocking you back from the center. Just make sure you aren't in front of a rift. Then, Dimensional Rip is a targeted AoE that leaves a pool on the ground, dealing damage to anyone standing in it. That's all his mechanics, and since he doesn't have any big damaging attacks, Grinno goes down on the first try. You know the drill at this point. Adds die, and we're on the final boss, Ser Charibert. Heaven's Flame is an AoE on every party member. Holy Chain tethers you to another person. Okay, that's a freebie. Chest Knights spawn and stumble towards you, dealing damage if they step on you. Altar Pyre is the best voice line in the game.
Sickness must be purged.
And at 60%, Charibert begins his enrage, spawning holy flames around the arena. After his final cast, every flame left alive will explode in sequence, dealing raid-wide damage to the entire party. 2 tank busters in a row, right as raw intuition comes off cooldown, seconds away from healing, we lose our first attempt. Charibert's damage was incredibly high, keeping us below half health for the entire fight, but after some close calls, he goes down on the second attempt, and the vault is cleared. Now, there's only one thing left between us and the best gear in Heavensward. Hitting the like and subscribe button. No, wait, that's something else, sorry. Tired and filled with pride from clearing 2 dungeons in 1 day, we push on to our final goal for the stream.
Did you know? The bi in Bismarck stands for bisexual.
Does it? I had no idea. This is what I get for skipping cutscenes. I don't know the important lore like that. That's why he has 2 snakes. An hour of losing my mind to quests later, the laughter and joking dies down as we approach the fight I've been dreading since the very beginning of this series, Bismarck. It was time for our first glimpse at what would end up being the hardest fight in all of Heavensward. Starting with level sync, I don't just have to think about my own health in this fight. I also have to manage the health of the island we're standing on. Bismarck slams into the ground, dropping the integrity to 80%. Every slam deals 20% unless I use the Magitek field generator in the center, reducing it to 7. 2 Vundu adds spawn, one that deals physical damage and uses a line AoE that can knock you off the platform if you don't dodge it, and another that deals magic damage and has more dodgeable AoEs. For a level synced warrior, these 2 on their own were too much, and the fight ends before it even begins. Re-entering with Silence Echo, we manage to survive the first round of damage and move on to the next mechanic. As Bismarck winds up, we throw on the shield to reduce his damage, and the dragon killers become active shortly after. Using them shoots a harpoon into the whale, and if both are used within a short period of time, they drag Bismarck to the island, allowing us to get on its back and deal our first bit of damage. But something strange happened with this. While I was dealing damage to Bismarck, the adds I left alive seemed to have forgotten about me, throwing down AoEs and attacks at nothing in the center of the arena. All too late, I realized that while I had stepped away to hit Bismarck, they were damaging the island. I wasn't strong enough to kill them in time, and so the island was destroyed. Even with Epic Echo, my warrior was still too weak, so we swap over to Reaper for the higher damage. With the adds dead, the real fight finally begins. This first phase, that was nothing. The door boss, if you will. Not a single mechanic mattered. With the chitin on Bismarck's back broken, the real boss appears. The Sanua. When they get close to each other, they tether together, gaining a 90% damage reduction. I knew this was going to be difficult, but after a few deaths, I finally took the time to figure out just how difficult it was. And, well... Three GCDs. I have to kill that thing in 3 GCDs. Oh my god. 3 GCDs, dude. We could still kill them while they had the damage reduction, but the majority of our damage needed to happen in just under 8 seconds. And so our first day at Bismarck comes to an end. To get through Nidhogg, I had used everything available to us. There was no option within the zones we had access to that would give us any meaningful upgrade, so we had to dig deeper than anyone had ever gone before. Forced back to Feast of Famine, we failed to catch the Helicoprion and failed 2 attempts at the Nepto Dragon. To take down Bismarck, we needed stronger armor. Bursting through the Sanua and surviving their tank busters on a DPS with almost no healing was going to need every last stat increase we could get. The closest upgrade, Sky Pirate, was just slightly better than what I had now, but required Chimerical Felt, an item we can only make in Azazla, an area locked behind Bismarck. And the Adamantite set was also locked behind access to Azazla. The only option I had right now was the chest piece I had tried to make last time, the Sky Pirate's Coat of Maiming. It used materials we had access to, but we had to get some big upgrades for our crafting gear before we could make it. With that plan in mind, we head back into Bismarck for some more testing. To even have a chance of getting past the Sanua, we would need to farm Echo Buff. If I start the fight, survive for 3 minutes, and then die by whatever means we choose, we could get a stacking 10% buff going all the way to 50%. This meant that we had to dedicate 15 minutes at the start of every attempt to just sitting there and dying, but there was no getting around it. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the adds to separate, and they were immune to all stuns and other debuffs. Once they got the damage reduction, we were stuck with it until one died. With a full buff, our best attempt got the first add to 55%. Before going too much further in, we knew this phase had an enrage, but had no idea what kind of enrage it was. If it hadn't been updated, we may just be able to survive it and move on in the fight. So we step back in on Warrior to try and reach it. 2 minutes, 20 seconds-ish. As high health as we can manage. 97,841. I can live that. With some more upgrades and the Echo's 50% buff, it wouldn't be that difficult to get above 100,000 health to survive it, but there was another problem that I hadn't noticed. When Bismarck uses Breach Blast, the island's health drops to 1%, meaning as soon as the next phase started, the island would break and we would wipe. Now, to unlock better crafting materials. For accessory upgrades, we needed hollowed chestnut lumber, which needed hollowed water, which needed Abelathian mistletoe, which needed flight in the Sea of Clouds, which, needed us to beat Bismarck. But there was another option. Out of all the high-level leaves, there are only a select few on the entire list we can get the materials to complete. A culinarian leaf using birch syrup, a carpenter leaf using birch logs, and an alchemist leaf for enchanted Aurum Regis ink. And it just so happens that the alchemist leaf has Abalathian mistletoe as a possible reward. While out collecting the ingredients for the ink, I make what is possibly the worst mistake of my life. Something that would send us down a spiral of torture and suffering for 40 hours. A dragon skin map. We grab some Aurum Regis sand and Abalathian spring water to make enchanted Aurum Regis ink and run off to find some treasure. These level 60 maps, meant for a full party of 8 players, had a chance at spawning a portal to the Aquapolis if you could defeat all the enemies it spawned in 5 minutes. We grabbed the map on a whim, hoping to have a bit of fun and possibly get some cool cosmetics, but I wouldn't realize until much later what I had just done. I just need you to know that my portal luck is 100% of the time. No. At least we could do a map. You know what? That was good enough. There are no recipes that require this. What is this? It's market prohibited. This is untradeable. I can't sell it. I can't craft it into anything. What am I supposed to do with this? Now that we had our ink, we just needed to continuously complete filling in the blanks until we hit the 23% chance at Abalathian mistletoe. And there was a little surprise waiting for us along the way. Wait, what the heck? Whoa, 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 whoa. What are these stats, dude? That's amazing. This is actually better than the Adept gear, and I can meld to it. And the Abalathian mistletoe is coming around. We're making it. At least I'm getting a lot of free love. For my alchemist, does not make me super happy. This isn't so big of a jump. It's a 16 craftsmanship and 6 control increase, but it's not bad. So the actual difference that we had is this one, which is 110 craftsmanship. This chest piece is really nice. Dude, Solo's hot. What happened? How did we get here? All in the haircut. Definitely all in the haircut. The Emmerich haircut does make it a lot better. The first batch of leaves got us 4 Abalathian mistletoe, and we needed 12 total to make the accessories. But before heading back for another round, I needed to level my carpenter. A few dark chestnut logs and lumber later, we've hit level 60. Leveling done, we head back out for some Abalathian spring water for hollowed water, raw amber, flax for linseed oil, terebinth for varnish, and hollow chestnut lumber for 2 hollow chestnut rings. Throwing some materia on, we pop over to the churning mists and grab some hard silver sand for hard silver nuggets to make a dragon fang earring. Checking in on leave rewards, we're brought back to earlier when we did that map. Normally, I shouldn't be able to complete this as it requires a griffin talon, an item that we can't get until Azus La, but I had one on me. We had gotten it as a drop from the map. Even without getting into the Aquapolis, the Dragonskin maps were able to get us access to materials well beyond our reach and suddenly cemented itself as a necessary part of our progression. Miss Still and Deep Eye Tears make a grade 1 dexterity dissolvent, and with the lucky map drop from earlier, we make a Griffin Talon ring of aiming and then turn it in for some new crafting shoes. Taking on a lower level leave, iron ore and grenade ash make a titanium nugget that we turn in for a titanium ball peen hammer. 3 hours of crafting and gathering, and we've got our hands on some much better gear, though it's still not enough to make the new chest piece. Drifting towards Kupo Adventure to finish off the night, I'll just make the rest next time. It'll be fine. For the rest of our gear, we're relying on leaves once again. Hunting for armor and Abalathian mistletoe is pretty simple. If no leaf has the item you want, just complete any leave and the rewards will refresh. Give the list a full check, and if there's still nothing good, repeat until gear. More often than not, we'd see the same gear we already had, or new pieces would be on a leave that we couldn't complete. So we hopped back to the Sea of Clouds and added birch logs and birch sap to the list to expand our options. More failed attempts at catching a feast of famine fish.
All I've ever wanted was to catch the Helicopterian before I died.
We craft some birch lumber and turn it in for 2 hollow chestnut lumber, a nice way to skip Abalathian mistletoe. The next cycle gets us gloves, a repeat doublet, and some more shoes. Before we head off to gather everything for the leaves, chat convinces me to check out the large-scale variant. These cost 10 leave allowances and give much less experience than just doing all 10 separately, but they can't give equipment as a reward, so they're an easy way to get the Abalathian mistletoe and hollowed lumber to finish our accessories. Grabbing our doublet and boots, we're off to hunt some dragons. Nope, I shouldn't have thrown out those dragon skills, dude. 10 minutes later, our wheel is crafted and we collect the last few Aurum Regis sand we need to get 20 Abalathian mistletoe, 10 hollow chestnut lumber, and our new gloves. So far, I'm sure it seemed like we've just been doing these to upgrade our crafting gear, making it a bit odd to get the shoes and chest piece again, but this is where the actual crafting begins. That extra doublet we got, do you remember the name of it? The Chimerical Felt. doublet of crafting. And with the power of Desynth, a skill that can break certain items down into their base components, we've got one of the materials we needed for the Sky Pirate armor. This was only the beginning. This little harebrained scheme was the tip of the iceberg, the shallow end of the pool, and if I wanted to beat Bismarck, we would have to go much deeper. Grabbing a new hat for birch lumber, we're just missing one piece to finish our crafting gear upgrades, and as if it heard our call, the pants are just a single hat craft away. Before that, a dragon skin map popped up in our gathering from earlier, but this time it was a lot more serious. The last map we did got us a Griffin Talon for more leave access, so I had to do this for a chance at other unattainable materials. The Sea of Clouds is a dangerous area for a map, as a lot of the locations require flight, though this time around we lucked out. Taking down the hordes of enemies, it's time to open the chest. Because believers, this is guaranteed 100% a portal. Oh my god. Alright. That is our gear settled. That's it. That's done. That genuinely gave me a rush of adrenaline seeing the adamantite nuggets pop up. Nothing else mattered anymore because, well, this changes everything. We spent the next half hour cycling through leave quests in the Foundation until the one I had been waiting for popped up. It had taken 20 leave allowances to find it, but this single turn-in, the large-scale Rose and the Riveter, was worth it. Each leaf has a card to indicate the style of turn-in. This grandma card means that you can complete it 3 times, or if it's a large scale, 6 times, without spending more allowances on it. For 1 adamantite rivet, which only costs 1 adamantite nugget to make, we would gain 40 adamantite ore, 240 total after all the turn-ins. 1 adamantite nugget costs 5 adamantite ore and 1 dark steel to make, meaning that for every time we got this leave, we'd be turning 6 adamantite nuggets into 48. This essentially means we now have infinite adamantite for all our crafting needs. I had known for a while at this point that the eye level 185 gear wasn't going to be enough. It was too small of an upgrade to get us through the Sanua, and I had been desperately searching for some way to get into the next tier of armor. With this adamantite, I had finally found it. Turning in everything, we end up with 215 adamantite ore. Now it's time for a long stretch of reading through the crafting log to see what upgrades became available. And there it was, right before my very eyes, the Hammer Master's Beetle. With this, I should be able to break into the stats I needed for 3-star crafts, a much stronger level of items. Hammer chosen as our path forward, we collect some Highland wheat, dark chestnuts, and buffalo milk for sour cream and Highland flour to make a rarefied Somal tart, a collectible that we can turn in at Mordona for white scripts. With those, we grab the Masterwork 4 recipe book for Armorer and get a glimpse at our final gear. The eye level 255 equipment, Skyrat or heavy metal. The only problem was a lot of the materials like cloud mithril and heavy metal ingots seemed to use items that didn't appear on the gathering log. Normally this just meant it was bought for crafter scripts, but I hadn't realized that this was something else entirely, and the biggest roadblock we would hit on our way to take down Bismarck. They already desire the Kupo Kupo adventure, so I have to give chat what they want, right? It would be remiss of me not to. The Armorer recipes didn't actually have an entire set of gear for my Reaper visible and didn't show any lower level options, so we've got more books to unlock. 7 Somal tarts later, we hit level 70 Culinarian and 393 scripts for blacksmith, goldsmith, and leatherworker recipes. Before getting lost in more crafting plans, we had some unfinished business to attend to. Varnish, along with the hollow chestnut lumber we got from the leaves, gets us the final crafting accessories, a hollow chestnut armlet and necklace. Next up is our pant, and all that takes is 1 hat. Everything for the crafter hat is easy, aside from the intelligence dissolvent. The dissolvent needs 2 mog palms, which are fished up in the churning mist. With the airy done, we can fly in the mist, so at least it's not out of reach, but the mog palm has a realistic chance of being caught with a craftable lure, so no buying bait for this one. Cloud Mika for a Cloud Mika whetstone, and an adamantite nugget get us a bladed steel jig. Then, 1 short flight away from Zenith, 2 mog palms. Killing deep eyes for deep eye tears makes our grade 1 intelligence dissolvent, and hollowed water, copper ore for rose gold nuggets, flax for linen yarn, stalks of rami for rami thread and rami cloth, then turning the cloth into hollowed rami cloth and mixing it with amphitheater leather makes a serpent skin hat of casting. Trading our new hat for some pants, our crafting armor is complete. After shopping around for any good leave rewards, another map ends without a portal and gets us some hollowed rami cloth and adamantite rivets. Our luck with maps was bound to turn around eventually, though the portals aren't that important. It's just cosmetics in there, right? Back to business, we need new tools. Drakes and Biasts in the churning mists for their scales, scale glue, amphitheater leather, and adamantite nuggets make a high quality adamantite cross pane hammer. A bit of melding later, we still need 100 150 craftsmanship and 130 control to make the best tools, and chat convinces me to unlock specialist. Completing the Beloved of the Builder quest allows you to pick 3 crafting classes to become a specialist in. Specializing in that class gives you a job stone, which adds 20 craftsmanship and 20 control for basically nothing. There's some other stuff it does, but all we really care about is the stats, and I'll be honest, I don't know what else it does. We start off with blacksmith, armorer, and goldsmith specialists with the plan to swap around later with more crafter scripts if we ever needed to. To craft the tools for most other crafters, I'd have to get blacksmith geared up, which means our first goal is the Forge Master's hammer. Rushing through some more leave allowances, we get a new offhand for my culinarian, and after realizing I had all the materials, an adamantite file for my blacksmith. Inching closer and closer to the required stats, I meld our entire set of armor full of materia and find a new food item to push us over the line. High quality beet soup will get us just enough control, so we've got more gathering to do. One of the materials it needs is Abalathian rock salt, which we can't get outside of leaves, so we spend some allowances to find it. And some more allowances. And some more allowances. Finally, with just 13 remaining, one of the large-scale leaves gave it as a reward, but taking this would mean just 3 allowances left, and I'd have to wait a week before having a decent number of them again. But beggars can't be choosers, so we turned in hollowed water for some Abalathian rock salt, and it only took half an hour. Thankfully, the rest is much easier. Yaks for yak milk, magma beets, yak milk into sour cream, logton for logton chump, pearl sprouts, and chives make 3 high-quality beet soups. With that, we've reached the breakpoint. 2-star recipes were craftable, and the next time I hopped on, I'd be crafting myself a shiny new hammer. It was really starting to feel like our crafter progression was coming to an end. Just one hammer to make, and we've entered the next tier. Astral Birch Lumber seemed to need the Carpenter Masterwork 4 book and a few other requirements. One of those being folklore books, an item obtained with gathering scripts that allowed us to collect new materials from nodes around the expansion. Gatherer scripts were much harder to come by than the Carpenter book, so we start the day with chopping some trees. 2 dark chestnut resin gets us 40 scripts, and the folklore book costs, wait a second. How do I get the books? No, not the Masterwork one. The Heavensward books are in Shire? No way, dude. Really? Yeah, so the astral moraine that we need to make our Forge Master hammer requires geological folklore for Coerthus. Is there any other way for me to get astral oil for this hammer? You already know what we're gonna have to say back to Palace of the Dead? No way. I have to descend it from extreme weapons. A long time ago, I had to rely on Palace of the Dead for decent materials to make the Woot's armor set. After dozens of hours of hunting for horde pieces, I couldn't even make a full set. Now, being forced back in for Heavensward extreme weapons meant I would have to get the horde pieces from an even higher floor set to have a chance to get the materials we needed. This wasn't happening. But then, that mistake I made earlier came back around and flaunted itself as our savior. Because this is the actual thing that I... Wait, Aquapolis. We can... Maps. I am able to get it if we can just get a portal. Right here, watching this moment back, was where it all went wrong. The Aquapolis wasn't just for cosmetics. It was a viable upgrade path, and I was willing to try it. Today's map was out of reach, in an area that required flight, so that's yet another map with no portal. I only had the one right now, so we're back to other business. The end goal as of now was to get my armorer and possibly other crafters to 995 craftsmanship and 955 control to craft 4-star items. Which means more scripts. Poof, wow, look at that, it's been like 20 minutes or something. Weaver Masterwork 3 book, woo! With maps looming over the horizon, I needed one final check, that the eye level 185 Sky Pirate set wouldn't be enough. Unlike everything else, it was craftable with what we had, so I needed to give it a chance. Cloud cotton balls and sphalerite, amphitheater leather, wyvern wings, deep eye tears, a grade 1 vit dissolvent, stalks of Remy, and Remy thread for, okay, nope, we need some weaver upgrades, adamantite rivets for a birch spinning wheel, cloud cloth, titanium nuggets, titanium alloy, bear fat, grade 1 strength dissolvent because I made the wrong one earlier, materia gambling, materia melding, and we've got our Sky Pirate's coat of maiming. It might turn us into a posh British noble heading to a dinner party, but it also gives us the best chance yet at taking down Bismarck. For the sake of my sanity, this needed to work. 42%. We had made it much further than before, but it still wasn't close. We needed a new way forward. With Forge Master's hammer locked behind maps, our gear was limited, but just how limited was it? At this point, map luck was the only grind we had that seemed like a solid plan, so we needed to understand where it could take us. I spent the rest of the night theory crafting with the other solos in Discord, and as soul-crushing as it was, the best possible crafting gear I could make was only able to craft 3-star recipes. Unless I could somehow get my hands on luminous fibers for high mithrite, the eye level 255 Skyrat gear was off the table, which left us with one more option. The eye level 210 icon equipment. Icon gear needed icon materials, one of which, icon cloth, we could get from the final room of the Aquapolis, and only the final room. Going off of some math from my dear friend Cider Spider, the chance of reaching the final room per map is 7.5%. Meaning on average it would take 14 days to get one chance at the icon cloth. The other icon materials, well, let's get to the point where we can craft them first, then we can worry about those. The final crafting gear for this grind was the 2-star carbon weave equipment that I didn't have the masterwork books to craft. Script turn-ins for Alchemist, Culinarian, and Carpenter masterwork books. We've got all the recipes we'll need, and it's time for the map extravaganza. The first chest is in the Coerthus Western Highlands and ends our bad luck streak. Oh, yes, finally! The Aquapolis, a dungeon filled with nothing but pure random luck, has 7 total rooms. Each room has a chest, some locked up enemies, and 2 doors. Interacting with the chest releases the enemies, and once you've defeated them all, you can open it for some materials and fancy items. With the chest open, you have a choice to make, left or right. And then, by the whims of the dungeon, you're kicked out and the duty is failed, or you're allowed to press forward for greater rewards. Since this was our first Aquapolis, I had stream chat decide what doors we would take to see how far their luck could carry us. This is a trap, he'll just blame chat if we're wrong. No, I would never blame chat. Both YouTube chat and Twitch chat have decided that left is the door. So, left it shall be. I hope you were right, chat. Oh no. You've got to be joking. Oh, yes! Oh, thank you, Rainbows. Okay. Whoo! First door rainbow is kinda crazy. Oh my god. Each door has 3 chances to open. Right away, after a fake out with slamming shut, and a rainbow save right before you get kicked out. This one just wanted to make sure we were full of anxiety before letting us move on. The last thing you'll need to know about the Aquapolis is the 5 possible fights we have to face. A boss and 2 smaller enemies, a boss and 3 smaller enemies, 2 small enemies, 3 small enemies, or 4 small enemies. Everything falls into one of these categories. It's a bit weird to talk about, and enemies doesn't sound like a word anymore, so I'll just break them down when we see them because each has a unique style of progression. The Polus Hybotus is 1 boss and 2 small, things. It starts with 1 gate opening, releasing the boss and his minions, and the 2nd and 3rd gate will open when the boss's HP reaches certain thresholds, 70% and 30% respectively. Most parties don't care, but we definitely do as a solo with limited healing. 1 death in here means we get kicked out and have to try again another day. To minimize the damage we take, we single target the 2 small guys until they're dead, and then push the boss to the next gate. The 2nd and 3rd gate both add 2 minions to the fight for a total of 6, and with the boss dead, we're moving on. Zeolite ore, I think, is useful, but I'm not sure if a single Zeolite ore is useful. Oh, glowy gate, okay. I will take the free victory. A glowing gate is basically just a freebie, guaranteed success moving forward. For 3 minion rooms, if all 3 are the same, killing the last one will open the next gate, and if all 3 are different, one of the 3, which I currently believe is randomly selected, will open the next gate when it dies. Now for the good stuff. The rewards. The items you can get into the Aquapolis are broken up into 3 sets. Rooms 1 to 3 offer some helpful materials, but nothing that I can't just go and get myself. If we can get through this next door, rooms 4 to 6 is where we start getting the items we need. Specifically, astral birch lumber and adamantite ingots. Twitch chat has given a 50-50 for right-left, which means that YouTube chat gets the final say, and YouTube has overwhelmingly picked right. We can blame YouTube chat for this if it boots? Okay, we can, but then we also have to give it to YouTube chat because they got it perfectly correct. So YouTube chat did amazingly. Entering the 4th chamber, we get the 3 different enemies I mentioned before, so you already know this one. But we also get our first visit from a treasure goblin. They spawn in randomly and stick around for a few seconds, and if you manage to kill them, you get a lot of extra gil for your troubles. Unfortunately, with the whole fighting for my life thing, I can't stop attacking the main enemies, so they almost always get away. Aside from a nice boost to my lightning cluster collection, nothing good out of this one. The poll is up for you to pick what door is gonna happen. Why do you desperately go for the 50-50? YouTube chat, what are you doing? Why are you a 50-50? Why have both of my chats rejected me today? Okay, so YouTube chat gave it a 50-50. Twitch chat chose right. No, don't go right. Instinct tells me left. Raymond, this is very dangerous. Your instinct is telling you left. I am very trusting. If your instinct is telling you left, I'll go left. I will trust you fully. But if you're wrong, you're banned. Ban me instead. Okay, Mithy has decided to sacrifice himself for you. So if you're wrong, I'm banning Mithy. Not looking good. It's not looking good. It would have been Twitch chat correct. Congratulations, Mithy. How do I ban you real quick? And so began the great tradition of chatters flinging themselves at the door, hoping to be the one to succeed and avoid the ban hammer. No portal from the last map, there's something I've been putting off for a long time. Unlocking flight in Coerthas Western required us to clear the Dusk Vigil, and with a 15-second stun lock on the first boss, the only option we have is Blue Mage. The last time we were here, our gear was, not great. And while we didn't upgrade our gear since then, we did get some fancy new spells. I've already gone through all these bosses' mechanics before, so we'll rush through things. The Oliphant is an instant death for any class that tries to fight it, stunning us continuously, but on Blue Mage we can just hit it with Doom and move on. So your Helmeric is immune to Doom, so he's a lot of running around and killing the ads he spawns, and goes down to a buffed up Final Sting. And the Epicnicus deals massive damage with instant tank busters and forces us to stay in melee range, but with our newly found Diamondback spell, reducing damage taken by 90%, we can survive through its tornado phase and finally unlock flight. Nice! Okay. Swift completion of 48 minutes? I will accept that. I'm happy with a 48-minute clear time. And it did complete the quest. Thank God. Could you imagine if we came out and the quest wasn't done? After we do some side quests. Turning in for a few more scripts, this is the final check. We needed to know right here and now what gear we could make and what it would take to beat Bismarck. This was a long time, going over every individual crafting buff we could get and every piece of gear it was possible to make. And in the end, our best crafted option was Icon leather gear for Reaper. Icon cloth came from the final room in the Aquapolis, but our main material was Icon leather. The only way to get that was desynthing. Desynthing the eye level 220 equipment from the hunt vendor for a chance at 1 Icon leather each. Our best bet was the Igateko and Igakyahan, costing 70 Centurio seals each. Gamerscape lists these items as only being able to desynth into Icon leather, so to get a full set we would need 8 leather, 560 Centurio seals, or 28 A-rank hunts. 28 hunts is a realistic number to do, and including the 40 or so seals we can get from daily hunt boards, we could get this done in no time. Assuming I kill 2 A-ranks and complete my dailies, it would only take 7 days. That was our first option, but crafting wasn't the only way to do this. There were 2 other classes that were strong enough to kill a Sanoa without all that gear: Samurai and Machinist. For Samurai to be able to take it down, we would need to reach level 76 for Tsubame Gaishi. I'm not going to pretend like I understand Samurai, so I'll just say that it's a lot of damage. Machinist, on the other hand, is a lot more straightforward. It was a class from Heavensward, meaning we could use hunt seals to get eye level 210 gear without a crafting requirement. At level 80, we get access to the Automaton Queen, and if we summon it prior to the Sanoa spawning, we can use up its full damage. Then, with Reassemble guaranteeing a crit direct hit, it would be able to breeze past this fight. For those 2 to be an option, we would have to level them, which meant Palace of the Dead. So we do a quick run on each class to test just how long it would take. Machinist completed floors 51 to 60 in 21 minutes, and Samurai took 23. The experience in Palace of the Dead scales up to level 50, so the 421,000 we got on Samurai was what we would get for the majority of the grind, except that, it wasn't. This was with rested XP, which was limited per day. I didn't have exact numbers for how much this would give us, so we ended up just going off the 421,000 anyways, but without rested, we would be getting half as much experience. Assuming that as I get better with the classes we speed up, we say 20 minutes per run. For Samurai, this meant 77 runs total, or just under 26 hours of Palace. Machinist got the same treatment, but without the rested XP, and ended up being a grand total of 96 hours of Palace. Throw that one in the garbage. Samurai was maybe an option, but 26 hours of Palace on a melee was going to be a new flavor of hell I was not ready for. With that, our main plan is crafting icon equipment, and our backup would be Samurai to 76. Grabbing some white frost cotton balls, we get another map and portal. No. Yeah, okay. Well, we're not getting the rainbow twice in a row, so it was good to see you, chat. Nothing good out of that one. To get to 2-star crafting, we needed better stats for my Weaver, which meant a new main hand tool. The best Weaver tool we can make is the Griffin Talon Needle. We haven't gotten any Griffin Talons. After all those maps, not a single one, dude? That's crazy. No luck for map drops, and since we still can't reach Azazla to get them on our own, we're back to more descenting, and this one is the worst yet. We can use amber-encased Vilekin to get Griffin Talon rings from the Amber Trader in the Foundation. We had a few from much earlier when I was originally planning to use them for Warrior, starting us off with 5 chances at the Talon. Okay, that's not what I was hoping for. Okay, you know what? The Fending one doesn't like us, so let's try aiming. You've got to be kidding. Healing, and you know what? Slaying. I don't want to go back to leaf farming. You can't make me. Finally, Final Fantasy XIV gotcha. Is this a finally? The only way to get more amber-encased Vilekin is from combat leaves in Heavensward, but specifically from chests that spawn during them very rarely. The ideal leave we found for it was Jailbird Break, where we could stand in this one spot, start a leave, check for chest spawns, and abandon it within around 6 seconds. Every time we got one, we'd head back over to the trader and try the gacha once again. Chat, is this hubris? It's not hubris, it's desperation. This is actually driving me crazy. That's 10 in a row that have not had a chest. I can't just be this unlucky, right? There's genuinely no way I'm just this unlucky. Statistically, someone has to be this unlucky? Yeah, why does it have to be me? Can it be someone else, please? What other leave is there that I can try? There's gotta be something. We'll give this one a shot. Why not? Vilekin. Thank God. It can be done, which is why I'm going to get it right here and right now. This Griffin Talon. Oh, thank God. Alrighty. Cloud Mika and Adamantite Nuggets make the Griffin Talon Needle, and with some materia boosts, Weaver is ready to go. Leatherworker is the last remaining piece, and with more dragon skills for scale glue, we've got an Aurum Regis creasing knife. A bit more melding, we grab gathering collectibles for scripts, grab some carbon fiber, pterodactyls, and cloud cotton balls for cloud cotton, pterodactyl leather, and sewing thread to make a carbon weave apron of crafting, the first piece of our final crafting set. Another day means more maps. No portal on the first, and a willing sacrifice for the second. We have a chatter that would like to risk their lives for me to only go left. 4 small enemies means another new gate condition. This time it's not based on any singular minion, but their health as a whole. When one of them drops below 90%, the second gate opens, and the third when that new group hits 90%, making this one incredibly chaotic very quickly. But the more there are, the more we heal. We're going left. Oh, Lily. Oh, no. Goodbye, Lily. You didn't make a single one. The maps were done, and our only other goal for now is the carbon weave set. Endlessly gathering the same items we had been for the last few weeks, it was time for something special. While we waited for some gathering collectibles to appear, we had enough seals for our first piece of icon leather. Here is attempt number 1. This is in Igateca. That is not even on the list of possible items from desynthing the Igateca. I am so confused. Our sources had been wrong, more wrong than we even knew now. While it only listed icon leather as a possible material drop, there were 2 others, not including demi-materia. So that 100% chance at icon leather just dropped down to 20% per 70 seals. On average, we would need 2,800 Centurio seals to make a full set of icon gear. Using the same numbers from before, 80 seals per day, this would take over a month, but I still had hope and kept pushing forward towards the icon gear all the same. Gathering scripts obtained, we've got sphalerite, rubber, titanium alloy, and all the materials we used to make the apron. Mashing them together, we get our carbon weave cap, breeches, and sleeves. Then, with a bit of materia melded into the new gear and a new offhand for my leatherworker, the boots are crafted and our full set of carbon weave is finished. The gear is made, but we still aren't strong enough to make the icon set, so we'll need to use materia. The script vendor offers up to materia 5, providing 11 craftsmanship or 7 control for each one slotted in. They were incredibly expensive, but it was going to be the only way for us to reach that next tier of crafts. When everything was finished, we needed at least 850 craftsmanship and 820 control. An hour of crafting for scripts later, our accessories are almost as strong as they can be. We head on a wild goose chase at the behest of chat and finish off the day with some hunts. We've skipped over a few of them as I got them during Solo's birthday party, but Feast of Famine is nearly complete. The last thing we need is the Helicoprion, and after 3 weeks of attempts, my quest is finally at an end. I got it. I got it. It's over. It is over forever. I never have to go fishing ever again. Foreshadowing is a narrative tool sometimes used to convey information to the audience. No, it's not foreshadowing this time, I promise. Truly the end of an era. And now we enter a never-ending cycle. Hunts and maps. 1 icon cloth from the final map room, 8 icon leather, and 1 icon iron ingot from desynthing hunt gear. If I could somehow get my hands on them, it would be over. This was the real final grind before Bismarck met their end. And with today's luck, it might just be possible. Easiest first try of my life. Okay. Come on. You can't pull a rainbow on the first door, dude. 1 boss and 3 minions is basically the same as the 4 minions from earlier. When any of them reach 90%, the next gate opens. You just do whatever the heck I want. Oh, this is great. That's a full self-destruct. That's not even... I don't even have to do this room. No, 8%. All right, well, the trail of gold on the floor leads from the center treasure chest to the left, which means it has to be left. What'd I tell you? What did I tell you? This is an actual chance at a material. This is our proper opportunity to get one of the things that we need. The materials from rooms 4 to 6 weren't as important anymore, but they would give us a huge power spike for our crafting, so still exciting if we can manage to get any. No, nothing. It's just Aurum Regis and a grade 1 dissolver. You would think that initially, right, looking at this spillage, that it came over from the right side. But what I see here is somebody came from this door, holding the treasure chest in their hands. They went to set it down, and as they set it down, they toppled a little bit. And that's why it's spread out like this, and why there's nothing over towards this left door. He tripped over the carpet. Exactly. There it is. Please? Yes! Oh my god! He's so good. He's So good. The furthest we had ever been, Arcus spawns, an optional boss that drops materia if it's defeated. Normally, I would ignore it until it despawns. It's an incredibly powerful foe that can kill me in a single hit, but I felt brave and decided to take it on. It took around 5 minutes of kiting both bosses around the room, but eventually we had our victory. And our reward was another disappointment. So he comes from over here, he trips over this bit of the grate, he staggers, he spills it forward, and then he catches himself and he puts it down. It's guaranteed. You're right. Right is a synonym for correct. Exactly. And I'm always correct. Never punished. Once again, no materials we need, but there's just one door left. Our icon cloth was within reach. It's always the carpets. They're tripping hazards. You gotta be careful of these things. It's the left door. Crushed moments away from victory, we still had 2 more to do, and this time with chat choosing the doors. The final spawn type, 2 enemies, all gates open at once. Once again, we reached the good materials, still coming up with nothing we needed, and we're kicked out on the 5th door. The final map for the day, we have another sacrifice. Saved. Wow. Oh my god. A chatter instinct has succeeded. Tack Angel, the first chat member to ever make it past the 4th door and avoid being banned. And now we see if the streak only lasted long enough for you to not get banned. Absolutely incredible. But shortly after, tragedy struck. Every enemy in the Aquapolis up to now has been relatively easy to deal with, so long as I remember to use raw intuition. Every enemy except these. Hectides, unlike everything else in here, were doing insane amounts of damage and I couldn't keep up. Our first map lost to a death. Maps for the day finished, we do our daily hunts and finish off with the weekly challenge log to level Reaper. Hunts for seals, maps with no good items. The days began to blend together, slowly twisting into a haze, toiling towards a reward perched ever out of reach, until it finally happened. Yes, it exists, dude. Oh my god, thank you. Revitalized, a new day of map begins, but this time with a lot more pressure than the rest. This stream was after I released the Nidhogg video. As much as I don't say it, I have a schedule for my videos, a new one every 3 weeks, and I was running out of time. From the moment this stream started, I had 2 weeks, 4 stream days to beat Bismarck, or we would have to find another way. So we push on with purpose, more desperate than ever for a successful map run. If I say that it is the best bagel, then it is the best. Hi, Shen! How's it going? Can you get banned? It's all up to you, Grotto. It's whatever you feel like. Sure, why not? Okay, so you will get the later map. Shen, you get to risk life and limb for the ban. I wish you the best of luck. Even if you make it, can I still get banned? Why do you want to be banned? Here's the first chest. We don't care about the first chest. Shen, pick a door. The one behind me. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, we can do this one. We didn't get kicked out. Congratulations. Left? All right, left it is. Good luck. Okay. Yeah, great. Hi, Shen. How's it go? Oh, shit. Oh my god. Get out of my chat, you're not allowed here. A sacrifice made, but no luck. We finish up our hunts and turn in for another Icon Leather attempt. With 2 weeks to go, this was it. I needed to get a piece of Icon Leather right here and now, or I'd be pivoting to leveling Samurai and take the 26 hours of Palace. Yeah! Alright! Oh my god, we've actually got a piece of the armor. Hold on. Yes, our first piece was now craftable, the Icon Leather headgear. But we also had enough for the chest piece, if I could get lucky. with one more descent. After an hour of hunting A-ranks, we take down the Lord of the Wyverns and Agathos for 80 Centurio seals and head back for one more run. A fabled bracelet of Fending for an Icon Iron Ingot. Okay. Bear fat, strength dissolvents, and a new pot of beet soup. And I can't find it anywhere, but we swapped our specialist over to Leatherworker to get us the 20 craftsmanship and control boost. All these grinds coming together, we finally reach our reward. An Icon Leather Corselet of Maiming. The biggest upgrade out of the entire set, the best we could have gotten. Melting, challenge logs, a quick run of Palace to get Reaper to 76, and a map with no portal. We've got 2 more things to work towards. First is new potions. Draconian potions, max potions, and super max potions of strength would all be a significant boost to our damage. A quick upgrade to my alchemist tool, and pot marjoram reduced into dustborn aether sand. The day ends with a bit more collectible turn-ins and melting. Aiming for 1 more piece of armor, we need 2 icon cloth and 2 icon leather to make a shiny new set of pants. Things start off well with an icon leather drop, but quickly take a turn for the worse. 2 maps in a row with no portal was fine. I'd have plenty more chances as this was the biggest map day yet. I had prepped a grand total of 5 Aquapolis attempts, so we still had 3 more. While waiting for the next maps to become available, we grabbed some royal mistletoe, powdered merman horn, and rue to make max potions of strength. We still had some time to kill, so we take a deep dive into what foods were available, and baked papira pira looked like our best option. Papira pira, yak milk, porcini, and fermented butter gets us a few crafts of baked papira pira, boosting our health, critical hit, and direct hit. 3 more maps ready to go, we somehow end up with 0 out of 5 portals. I had convinced myself that I was going to have at least 1 run make it to the final room, but here we stood, not a single chance available to us. Right here and now, I was afraid. It had taken 4 weeks to get 1 piece of icon gear, and I still needed 4 more. So I took the leap. No more theory crafting. No more planning. Fight the whale. Fight it now and see how far we've come. Fight it and hope that we're even slightly closer to victory. I am going for a real attempt this time. Good luck. Circle. True north, X potion, 1, 2, 3, 54% is massive. Wow, that was close. Okay, wow. I almost just did that. I genuinely almost just did that right then and there. 13%. I could do 13%. I just needed to create the perfect rotation. After 1 more rest, this was it. I locked myself in. I was beating Bismarck today, no matter what. 1 more try at getting another piece of gear. We spent some time at the dummies to make a plan. Up to now, I'd been playing like a normal Reaper, but that wasn't going to cut it for this. I needed to burst as much damage as possible in 3 GCDs. Bloodstock is an attack I can use between GCDs that opens a Reaper's main damaging attacks, Gibbet and Gallows. Gluttony is the same, but with a bit more damage and allowing me to use Gibbet or Gallows twice. But Gibbet and Gallows were too slow. Once the damage reduction started, they would be incredibly important, but right at the beginning, they were dead weight. So instead, right as the Senua spawns, we hit it with a Bloodstock and Gluttony back to back, wasting our Gibbet or Gallows, but making our first attack 860 potency instead of 340. And it can still get better. If I timed it right, I could use the ads from the first phase to turn Bloodstock into Unveiled Gibbet, adding another 60 potency. To put it simply, with this plan, I've tripled the damage I can do to the Senua in the first 2 seconds. This was it. Either way, I have 8 baked papira pira. We have 5 optimal attempts. We have 20 total attempts. Let's give it a shot. one more change. A chat member told us to start in the middle instead of behind the Sanua. Standing here at max melee, the second Sanua hits us with a tank buster, stopping its movement and giving us one extra attack before they tether. Nah, I almost got it. 8% is amazing. That is new PB. Crest, Potion, True North. 1. That was stupid of me. Okay, great. I ruined it. No, I didn't. The last optimization, I needed to save Bloodbath until the Sanua died. Yeah, we're healing less with the AoE there on Bloodbath than otherwise. That was what? 4%? Bloodbath heals 20% of the damage you deal to the enemy, so using it while the damage reduction was active meant it was basically useless. Every last second of this fight was planned with purpose, taking advantage of everything we could. Now we just had to chase the perfect run. 3 runs in a row under 10%, pumped full of adrenaline. The instance ran out of time, and I ran out of potions. So we needed to restock. With more Duskborn Aether Sand and max potions of strength, melding my gear to make it as strong as possible, we enter the Limitless Blue. One more time. Tell me I have enough health. Please. Yes! Okay, rest of the fight. Oh, don't be lucky. Please don't be lucky. Oh, it's done. Oh, it's over. Oh my god. Oh my god, I could cry. I cannot believe I just did that, dude. Bismarck down, and I get to leave this instance and never come back. We really did it. This green quest right there. There was a lot that needed to be cut from this video. Maps and theory crafting, crazy ideas that got us nowhere, hundreds of leaves and script turn-ins, all for this one moment. Quest complete. With a final playtime of 411 hours, 60 hours since defeating Nidhogg, all of Heavensward is open to us, and we're on the final stretch.
To the city of Shari, that great seat of knowledge now abandoned by her keepers, they came.
Exhausted, we crawl, with all the incredible people that have supported me through this whole adventure towards Idyllshire. So much had gone into taking down a single boss, and now, finally, we're headed heavensward towards the end of another journey. Bismarck changed me. Without question, the hardest piece of content I had ever faced in Final Fantasy XIV now sat behind us. 60 hours of my life to barely scratch out a victory. I was euphoric. The rush of emotions had hit me there on stream and in the days following. It was finally over. And for the first time in the history of this challenge, I can say nothing is going to be as difficult as that. Not for a long time. Now we stand at the precipice, the end of 3.0 right in front of us, the best gear within reach, nothing blocking us anymore. It's time to dethrone a pope. First though, we've got some massive upgrades to unlock. Our previous grind relied heavily on Centurio seals, and even though we won't likely need them again for Heavensward, we're given the final hunt tier, a weekly B rank that gives 100 Centurio seals each. Would have been a lot nicer a month or two ago, but well. Now that we're in Idyllshire, we've finally got access to the level 60 script exchange for the best crafting and gathering gear possible, alongside some higher end materials. Zloe's Orphanage unlocks custom deliveries, 6 items every week that provide us with a massive chunk of crafting or gathering scripts. Crafting scripts are relatively easy to come by with our Somal tarts, but gathering scripts not so much, and we'll be needing a good few hundred of them to unlock all the folklore books and the strongest materials in Heavensward. Then there's this monstrosity. Chloe gives us access to Wondrous Tales, a weekly checklist of trials and dungeons that can completely change the game for our account. After completing 9 of the listed items, we gain an honestly ridiculous amount of experience on whatever class we turn it in on. These are a guaranteed level up every week, if not a bit more. Combined with challenge logs, we can really start to speed up our progress with around 3 levels per week, at least until the class hits level 80. But even with that, there's a much more important reward from this that we'll talk about later. And last but not least, we can now use Tomestones of Poetics to purchase Shire gear, the strongest armor and weapons in the entire expansion. To put it simply, everything we had previously been blocked by was gone. There was absolutely nothing stopping us anymore. And there's only one way to celebrate something like that. Window shopping for cool items, checking out rewards, and progressing the MSQ. Cheers squad, I'm gonna have to ask you all to leave the zone real quick because I have to put something into Say Chat and I'm so embarrassed. So incredibly embarrassed to have to type things into Say Chat and have people around to see it. No, we stand with you, we're not going anywhere, come on. This is a nightmare that I had while I was just doing the MSQ normally. Like, other people being around while I had to do these Say Chat quests and, like, judging me for it. And now there are actually people next to me, so it just makes it so much worse. The smartest FF solo streamer around, thank you. A short 30 minutes of quests later, we've reached the first of 2 things between us and the final battle of Heavensward, the Great Google Library. Level synced to 60, the cap for the expansion, all of the important bits of our healing are ready and available for us to use. No real threats from the dragonflies throughout the dungeon, we rush on towards the first boss, the Demon Tome. There's, not much to say on this dude. Line AoEs appear in the center and sides of the arena, slowing you if you get hit by them, and occasionally the floor will freeze and the tome closes shut. Normally it's a solid wall that you can't walk through, but while it's closed, you can slide on past and head to the other side. Otherwise, you take a big chunk of damage. And fun fact, you can't fall off. Even though there's 0 rails here, it's just an invisible wall instead of instant death. That's it. A nice and easy boss to start things off. Maybe you should read the book instead of fighting it, buddy? Oh, true. Pika glowing, I'll try my best, alright? Don't laugh at me. It must mean something. Somebody has to have a translation somewhere. I need to know the words. We need Scribe in here. Where's Scribe when I need him? Hey, Scribe, do you know what this book says?
Oh yeah, of course. It's, Pentatolithis. Aldinogigad. Ilk Eors. Teftideth. Kilgayak. Meska. Mola. Nith Kol Athar. Afa-un. Manthar Kul Taoka. Mil Azan Thal Azan
Okay, thanks, Scribe.
Oh, of course, anytime. Stay safe, my friend.
With another Eorzean mystery solved, Detective Solo Only heads on to his next case. After a quick stop for some reading, Blothiswind and her League of Lost Bastards were the first Eorzeans to discover the Western continent. There's no denying that their navigational charts were instrumental in establishing the major trade routes of today. We're on to yet another book demon, Byblos. Distracted by our endless search for knowledge, yeah, this is totally the same text. What the heck? No, don't, hey, pull me back. We die on the first attempt. It deals a lot more damage than the first boss, but when we're actually paying attention and healing properly, it's easy enough to deal with. Every few attacks, it hits with Page Tear for around 800 to 900 damage. Heading back to the book in the center, it charges heads down, a knockback targeting a single player. Party mechanics like this won't kill any class in one hit, so it's pretty weak and easily recoverable. Below 70% health, Byblos jumps back to the book, becoming invulnerable and summoning 2 adds around the arena. While these adds are alive, he won't leave the book, instead casting Bone Shaker every 13 seconds. Bone Shaker gives a damage up to everyone in the arena, so the longer it takes to kill these books, the more likely we are to die. When a book dies, it spawns a blue orb that tethers someone and chases after them. You don't actually have to kill all the books, you just need to use one of these blue orbs to knock Byblos off of the tome he's standing on. Next is Galecut. 4 gas clouds spawn around the arena, if you step into them they blow up. At 30%, Byblos goes invulnerable once again, and with no new mechanics, the fight ends. And so we're on to the final boss, the everlasting Bibliotaph. Aside from its big hitting auto attacks, the Bibliotaph has one main mechanic, spawning adds. As the Void Call cast starts, the circles around the arena light up with 1, 2, or 3 pillars. If that many players stand on it together, the lights go out and nothing happens. First round is easy, since it only takes 1 person, but for the next 2 rounds there was no way to prevent the adds from spawning. And when I said big hitting auto attacks, I meant it. Even without mechanics, this thing was tearing us apart. The next Void Call summons 4 Bibliomancers. The Bibliomancers give us a debuff, reduced immunity, which increases the damage we take from magical attacks. But even with that, having the extra enemies around ends up being more positive than negative. Raw Intuition heals us for every enemy we hit, so we're shot back up to full health every time I use it. The final Void Call summons 2 Bibliocleps. They each take turns heading to the edge of the arena and setting up line AoEs for us to dodge, but their regular auto attack damage stacked up with the boss made it unlivable very quickly. Using everything I had to try and kill them, we still ended up dead. This was looking bad enough now to almost force a Silence Echo clear instead of level sync. Except for one little quirk with the Bibliotaph. I could not tell you why if I tried, but unlike every other enemy in the game, if you run away from the Bibliotaph, he won't start chasing you for 12 seconds. Good to see you. Dude, he's just standing there. He's not gonna move until that Void Call bursts. Oh my god, I love this. It's amazing. With that big of a delay, avoiding damage from the boss was easy, and we can just barely take down the Bibliocleps. With no mechanics left, fully enjoying running the boss around the room, the Bibliotaph falls, and the Great KOBO library is complete. We did get a swift first-time completion for spending 77 minutes in the dungeon. And the best part, for the first time, 1 or more party members have yet to complete this duty. A second chance point was added to your journal. A second chance point. For us, this single bit of text in chat is one of the most valuable commodities in the game. These are a part of Wanderer's Tales, an incredibly limited resource that we would only get a handful of times. For now though, I'll save the details for a bit later. That's one dungeon down, and one more to go. Another quick run through the MSQ, we've reached the final zone of Heavensward, Azisla. Then, after defeating Regula von Hydrus, we were there. Flight unlocked, and the last quest, Heavensward, begins. This single quest had 2 instances for us to face. The Aetherochemical Research Facility, containing the horror known as Ascian Prime, and Thornton shortly after. We had done a lot, so instead of getting a start on the dungeon, we head back and grab some dated Radzaton coins and ice stalagmites for Zloe to finish our weekly turn-ins. 873 gathering scripts in our pocket, my internet was starting to die on me, and the exhaustion was beginning to set in, so our shopping trip will have to wait for another day. Now that we've got access to the legendary gathering materials through the folklore books, it's time for a very overdue gathering gear upgrade. The majority of my equipment is still from the end of A Realm Reborn, so it's not gonna cut it anymore. Each gathering class has its own level 60 set to purchase from the script vendor, but it's a bit overkill. The stats required to harvest all the materials we want aren't actually that difficult to hit, so rather than spending 2,500 scripts for my botanist and miner, we could instead limit that to only grabbing the main hand and offhand tools for 1,000 and make a new set of armor ourselves. We've had access to it for a while, but never had a reason to make it, so now it's time for Carbon Weave gathering gear. Dark chestnuts into rarefied snowmalt tarts gets us crafting strips for carbon fibers, pterodactyls, valorite, and stormcloud cotton balls. White frost cotton, titanium ore, and grenade ash make titanium nuggets for titanium alloy ingots. Cloud mica for titanium ingots, sewing thread, dark chestnut logs for pterodactyl leather, rubber, a quick break for a map. They're never wrong. Don't even worry about it. It's a fake out. Oh no. Minium, a new minion, your name is gonna be Steward, and Natron for crystal glass. Make a carbon weave cap, vest, gloves, boots, and pants. Massive improvements across the board. We grab a new scythe for my botanist, some collectibles for gathering scripts, and purchase our first folklore book for Dravania. Now we're ready for anything. At least, mostly ready for anything. But before stepping into the Aetherochemical Research Facility, there was one last thing to do. Bill, the axe that has come with us every step of the way since the very beginning, has one final upgrade. The strongest Bill in the game, his final form, Adamantite. And all we were missing was a single block of wing glue. It levels up our blacksmith. It's a high quality Adamantite Bill. This is truly Bill's final form. And he is gorgeous. Bill Ultima unlocked. Actually though, this is Bill Ultima. It even looks like an Ultima weapon. You're right. Oh my god. This is the axe that will go forward with us all the way to the end. And I wouldn't have it any other way. With that done, it's time. The final dungeon of 3.0 and the last barrier before our battle with Thornton, the Aetherochemical Research Facility. A level 60 dungeon, every enemy in here was a trial to get past, with some groups causing multiple deaths. But a short ways up, we reach the first boss, Regula von Hydrus. Starting off with his tank buster, Bastard Bluss, we're down 2,000 health the second the fight begins. Shortly after, we're stunned for 5 seconds, still tanking auto attacks, and ended with Judgment for another 2,000 damage. Barely 20 seconds since we entered, we're backed into a corner. The damage Regula was dealing was ridiculous, but using up all of our mitigations and healing, we push on to the next phase. At 80%, Regula summons a turret and jumps to a random position along the edge of the arena. For as long as the turret is alive, it's a simple dance of dodging AoEs, a perfect opportunity to stall for all of the abilities I have on cooldown. But if you don't kill the turret fast enough, it'll use self-detonate and AoE explosion for a decent chunk of damage. With the turret dead, it's back to Bastard Bluss, and it only gets worse from here. It's still maybe better to just do damage during that. That's 2 tank busters in a row, buddy. Let's calm down a little bit, okay? For seemingly no reason, he's increased the frequency of his tank busters, but only sometimes. At 50%, he'll spawn 2 more turrets, one that drops circle AoEs and another using lines like before. Even with focusing on nothing but the turrets, we don't manage to kill either in time and have to tank 5,000 damage from self-detonate. Magitech Spread is another chance to heal and wait for cooldowns, with Regula jumping to the center of the arena and hitting everything in front and beside him. Another round of turrets dead means an even worse set of of tank busters. In the name of the Emperor! Oh my god! This is... Please, dude, calm down. I'm sorry for making fun of you. One final ad spawn, there's nothing left, and we somehow manage to move forward. Destroying some nodes, the door opens to possibly the hardest dungeon fight I've ever had to face. Harmachis. A lot of dungeon bosses have given us problems, sure, but most ended up just being you don't deal enough damage, you can't use level sync. Harmachis, on the other hand, was a new kind of threat. A boss with such extreme mechanical difficulty that while it's possible to do level sync, it was really pushing the limit of the word. Weighing of the Heart changes the boss's form depending on when it's used. At the start of the fight, the boss turns into a snake, gaining a damage up and hitting us with a tank buster for 4,000 damage. Then it turns back into the Sphinx and the real problem starts. Chthonic Hush is an instant, undodgeable cone that poisons everything in it for 30 seconds. The poison deals 700 to 800 damage every 2.5 seconds for a total of just under 9,000 damage. Riddle of the Sphinx is a dodgeable AoE, and then it uses Chthonic Hush again. And to make things even worse, antidotes don't work on this poison even though it can be a Sunad. At 80%, it uses Weighing of the Heart again, turning into a Naga. This is the easiest form to deal with. Turn away to dodge the gaze and tank some AoE fireballs. Naga finished, it adds a new attack after Riddle of the Sphinx, Ka, a simple cone AoE. But even with that, the poison is still reapplied before its timer ever runs out. The first death of many, I couldn't waste a single GCD. Everything had to be used to heal. One more attempt, Harmachis hits 50%, and we get to see the real reason why this fight is practically impossible. Weighing of the Heart turns the Sphinx into a Machina. Bound in place, we're hit with Ballistic Missile, dropping us to 1 HP and knocking us into the air. And while we're ragdolling, the poison from Chthonic Hush finishes us off before we even get a chance to heal. And to top it all off, a party stack right after. If the poison didn't kill us, that would. Another death, and no further than before, the stars align for a brief moment. Right here, I push the Sphinx to 50% after it used Ka, right before the poison gets reapplied. Just barely enough time for the poison to fall off, meaning now we had a chance at surviving the ballistic missile. Desperate to see further into the fight, I use Holmgang to guarantee surviving the party stack and heal up as we enter the final phase. Chthonic Hush, Riddle of the Sphinx, Ka, and Weighing of the Heart into another Machina. For this final phase, we wouldn't have to worry about poison. All that mattered now was having enough health to survive the party stack. Thrill? Ooh, barely. Tomahawk back up, tomahawk back up. Please. The next Weighing of the Heart was a snake. 3,000 health loss to its tank buster, but definitely better than a Machina. Just don't be... Oh, come on, man. With just 12% left, we die to the third Machina phase. 4 deaths later, luck is on our side, seeing a snake spawn for the final weighing, and after 30 minutes of attempts, we're headed on towards the final boss. A few demons later, with just 10 minutes left in this 90-minute dungeon, we face off against La Habrea and Ikeyorm. 2 bosses at once with 2 health bars. They'll occasionally equalize their HP, so I can focus on just killing one of them for now. This entire fight is just dodging AoEs, and I really mean that. Fireballs for big circles, ice for donuts, cones in front of the bosses, repeat. And after all this work, 20% left on both bosses, we run out of time. Okay, unlucky. I hadn't mentioned it, but earlier while fighting Harmachis, we started to use the Shire chests and pants that we've had since A Realm Reborn. It made things just the smallest bit more manageable, and with our newfound access to Idleshire, we use up all the poetics we've got to finish the set. 2,000 more health, a lot more defense, we're ready for another attempt. Tomorrow. Yeah. Definitely tomorrow. ARF was proving to be more difficult than I had previously imagined, so with our newly maxed out gear, it's time to max out our food buff as well. Somal tarts for scripts get us a full set of culinary and crafting gear, even though the accessories are worse than my current ones, and we get a brand new problem that even a full set of level 60 script gear can't craft 4-star Heavensward recipes. Thankfully, we still have some options. Laurel, ogre pumpkins, smoked bacon, cyclops onion, and heaven's egg and bouillon cubes from the script vendor make a high quality heaven's egg soup. Then, white truffle, highland parsley, ruby tomatoes, garlic garlic, and wild onions for tomato sauce make the best DPS food in Heavensward, priestly omelets. New gear, new food, and a plan to get past Harmachis, nothing was going to stop us this time. The Aetherochemical Research Facility sinks our gear, so we don't get all of the buff from that shiny new Shire equipment, but at least it's something. Now, it's time to clear this. As the two drop to 0%, the fight moves on to a cutscene revealing the actual final boss of the Aetherochemical Research Facility, Ascian Prime. Shadow Flare is a raid-wide dealing 2,000 damage. Height of Chaos is a tank buster for another 4,000, and Dual Star is the first real mechanic. Combining the AoEs from the last fight, the two dodges happen in quick succession, stand under the ice orbs, and run far away from the fire orbs. Then we've reached universal manipulation, and all the mechanics that come with it. A bleed, a donut AoE, a targeted AoE, a party stack, and a tether, followed up by another party stack, Entropic Flame, for 8,000 damage. Twice the usual damage from a stack, we wear our floor tank title with pride. Another run through UM, we take the extra damage to save my strongest mitigation, Vengeance, for the upcoming Entropic Flame, and just barely move on. Entropic Flame done, Ascian Prime teleports outside of the arena and begins their enrage, Arcane Revelation. Okay. Whoa! That is not a lot of damage. Dodging a constant onslaught of AoEs, the Arcane Sphere needs to die before Ascian Prime's power reaches 100%, which is a lot easier said than done. Alright, I'll throw on Home Gang just in case. Not 9 million, please. Okay, yeah, 9 million damage. Okay, yeah, that's forced. There's nothing I could do there. That is unquestionably impossible. 60% isn't something we can change by being better. Already at the max gear we can get, this was the end of it. With the most health of any enrage mechanic I had ever seen, ARF level sync was impossible. And after testing Warrior's damage on Silence Echo, that likely wouldn't be possible either. A change of plans, once again, a tank wasn't going to cut it. We're stuck using Reaper for every last point of DPS it could get us. While it's stronger than Warrior damage-wise, the lack of healing means that I need to be able to kill the boss much faster to have a chance of survival. Our current abilities are strong, but our gear could be better, and we're still missing the strongest part of a Reaper's kit. Enshroud at level 80. Faster attack speeds, high potency hits, it's got everything you could ask for. So we've got to start things off by getting Reaper to 80. Challenge logs have us just barely below 79, and so it's time to finally talk about Wondrous Tales. I mentioned before that the experience gains from this book are ridiculous. Each turn-in is an entire level with the Road to 80 buff, but there's more to this than just experience. We're given a selection of instances to complete, and each time one is done, we can check it off and add a sticker to the 4x4 board on the right. Think of this like a bingo sheet. If a column, row, or diagonal fills with 4 stickers, we get a line and better rewards. With 9 stickers, there's barely any chance for it, but we can get up to 3 lines for the best possible rewards. A lot of the rewards are nice, especially if you're doing Wondrous Tales as a level 90, but we only care about one thing: Chloe's silver certificates of commendation. We can't get gold since we don't have a class at level 90, so the silvers are the best we can get. With 2 complete lines, we'll get a certificate, and with 2 of those certificates, we can purchase a piece of ornate equipment. The ornate gear is based on the current expansion and the highest level gear available from it. Golds give the best, and silvers are one step down. All of this to say, if we can get 2 silver certificates, we can purchase an ornate Reniscita Cuirass of Fending and eye level 610 chest piece. This singular piece of armor gives almost as much defense as our entire gear set, 3 times the substats of my current chest piece, and 5 materia slots, meaning we can put the highest grade materia in guaranteed. For the rest of my time on solo, we'll be going for this. No matter what, this will always be the best gear we can get, especially when Dawn Trail releases and it gets even stronger. And that's why this is so important. 1 or 2 lucky Wondrous Tales, and we're set for the rest of the challenge. We head through the Binding Coils turn 3 and some attempts to beat Nail, but my internet gets the better of me, so we take some time to regroup and yell at my ISP. Internet's seemingly stable once more. It's a week later, and we've got a brand new book of Wondrous Tales to do. We have to complete 9 of the 16 instances, and with a few of the options being impossible, like PvP or Alliance raids, we'll be going through every extreme it offers us, all of the dungeons, and hoping we get lucky for the last 2. With the extreme fights being required, we jump in on Epic Echo and make quick work of Shiva. I don't think the boulder's gonna leave. I think we're stuck in the boulder forever. Garuda, Titan. Oh, a mount! Look at that, we got a horse. Oh, big horse. Leviathan. What happened? We was just doing nothing for 20 minutes. Leviathan, there we go. And Ultima. Then, after some quick dungeons and 10 floors of Palace of the Dead, we've got our 9 stickers for the week. Alright, come on. Nope. Dude, okay. The final bit of Wondrous Tales is Second Chance Point. Earned from clearing dungeons or trials for the first time, we can use 1 Second Chance Point to redo one of the instances on the board, or 2 of them to shuffle the stickers and hope for a better setup. Unfortunately, with how limited they were, we can't just go spending them shuffling on every attempt, but we at least end up with 1 line on the board. 1 line gets us 500 poetics, 4.7 million experience, and a bronze certificate. Though the bronze certificate is only used for minions or materia later in the game, so not exactly useful right now. 1 quick challenge log later, we've reached level 80. Now the last thing for unlocking Enshroud is the level 80 quest, and completing an instance that expects us to be using level 80 gear. Oh my god, we do no damage. And he does insane amounts of damage. Alright, yeah, no. 15k if I can't make that explosion, that is crazy damage. Thank God Square Enix added the very easy button. There we go. Hey, goodbye Orcus. It was good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Enshroud unlocked, one last thing to do. Spending the rest of my poetics on some Shire gear for Reaper. I'm a bit broke at the moment, so we only get 3 pieces. The pants, boots, and gloves. For the rest of the set plus accessories, we'd need around 1700 more, so that wasn't going to happen for a while. Then, some custom deliveries for Zoe, and trying to get some good B-roll shots, we're headed back into the Aetherochemical Research Facility. Everything was going well. Hydrus went down quick and easy, but the Harmachus puts a stop to our momentum once again. Warrior has Holmgang and an excess of healing options, while Reaper has Second Wind, and that's it. The Harmachus' Machina phase wouldn't be going down that easily. We'd have to learn the fight again from the very beginning. Before every attempt, we'd make use of the first 15 seconds to build up my 2 gauges, allowing us to use all of our big damage attacks as soon as the real attempt begins. Jump in, hit the boss, and jump out before the gate closes. After the reset, repeat until you've got everything ready. If we were going to survive the Machina, I had to get the boss down to 50% health without ever getting poisoned from Chthonic Hush. Or, in simpler terms, I can't ever let him use his normal attacks, or it's over. And the best I had managed was 51%. 40 minutes of attempts, we were making good progress, but we were still missing something. So we wait, hoping that more poetics and time away will give us a better chance. One more set of Wondrous Tales, we add Striking Tree EX and Earth's Fount to our list of completed fights. 1 line and 3.3 million experience for my warrior, we've got a few poetics, but not enough to finish the armor we need. With our new Pathfinder circlet, the only thing left is the chess piece. Our main source of poetics done for the week, we've still got one other option. The Masked Carnival, a set of fights only available on Blue Mage, comes with weekly challenges. Weird and incredibly specific clear conditions for already difficult fights, with a few hundred poetics waiting at the end. Blowing up some batteries using only my sticky tongue, we've got 240 poetics and a shiny new chess piece. Today's stream was the end of it. I slapped on the title "Stream Doesn't End Until We Win" with the plan of spending however long it took to clear this dungeon. Now, with all of our gear upgrades finished, this was our last chance to do it with Silence Echo. Inching closer and closer to victory, my internet decides it's the perfect moment to start dying. And so, resting for a while, I came to terms with everything. The final boss, Ascian Prime, used 2 consecutive party stacks in an incredibly short time. I knew I wasn't going to be able to survive it on Reaper with Silence Echo on. I had just been convincing myself that there was a way to get past it, somehow. But barely holding a connection to the servers, I was ready to move forward. With everything stable again, we head into ARF with Epic Echo. Universal Manipulation across all its attacks deals just over 25,000 damage. Spamming through all of my heals, we live with health to spare. With the Arcane Sphere destroyed, Ascian Prime falls, and the Aetherochemical Research Facility is finally finished. Now, after all this time, we're at the final fight of Heavensward. The end of 3.0 was right in front of me. I was ready to call it, satisfied with my victory over the dungeon, but chat begged one try to see what the fight would look like. Swapping to warrior, level sync turned on. It's time to dethrone a pope. No explanations, no practice, no retries. Just one first glimpse at the final battle. I cannot believe this. There's no fight left. Just like that, it's all over. Thordan falls on the first attempt to a solo, level-synced warrior.
Who? What are you?
A long time ago, when Solo was just learning to walk, this was going to be the end. At that moment, with that final scene of Thordan crying out, "What are you?" Solo's journey would be complete. I never dreamt what it would take us to get here. I never believed Solo would learn to run. But here, with eyes that have seen how far we can go, the things we can do, we've set our sights on a goal much higher. No matter what it takes, we'll reach Endwalker. Thank you for being here with me until now. I hope you'll continue to walk this path beside me until the very end. Having taken down Ascian Prime and the Knights of the Round, we've reached the end of Heavensward. But to really complete it, we have to go through all of the post-Heavensward story. Heading into the final stretch of the expansion, I was sure that we'd have an easy set of victories and hit the credits in no time. If only I knew the horrors I'd be up against, facing a fight that even Warrior wasn't strong enough to survive. Real quick, we're trying to get to 50,000 subs by the end of the year, and you can help out if you're one of the 60% or so that aren't subscribed. The best part of beating any wall is rushing through the MSQ afterwards. Something about the easy experience and progress just hits different when you've been stuck in the same spot for 6 weeks. Ishgard to Anix Shrine, rushing into battle with my hairstyle twin Amaric, and strolling through the hinterlands, we arrive at the first of our dungeons, the Anti-Tower. By the end of this video, we'll be reaching Stormblood, and 5 instances stand in our way. 4 dungeons and 1 trial. And alongside that, I'll be completing a secret goal I've had in the background for a long time. Before starting on that first dungeon, we need to restock on our food stores. Priestly omelets did us well last time, so we'll be using them for the rest of the expansion. White truffles, Highland parsley, wild onion and garlic, ruby tomatoes, heaven's eggs, and stone cheese make a tomato sauce for a decent stock of priestly omelets. And that's it. Just the smallest bit of prep and we're ready to take on the Anti-Tower. With raw intuition and equilibrium keeping us fully healed, there's basically nothing that can pose a threat to us, so all the hordes of frogs and squid just serve to slow us down.
And the power of friendship is what will get me through this dungeon. You'd better watch out, Pororogo. You won't last long once my friends are here, and with our power combined, we can take on anything.
I'm sorry, we can pretend that didn't happen. We can just move on. This isn't lore accurate roleplay. Solo doesn't have friends. I didn't think about that, you're right. Slowly descending into madness, we reach the first boss, Zuroroko. Occasionally sending out a cone AoE, Odious Croak continuously hits anyone standing in it every second they're there. Note bubbles spawn around the arena, bursting and hitting anyone nearby. And Frog Song turns you into a frog for 25 seconds alongside spawning 2 choir frogs. In a normal party, killing the choir frogs turns the player frog back to normal, but we don't have that luxury, so it's 20 seconds of intense frog gameplay. Palace trained me well for this. And then the problem mechanic, Toy Hammer. A tank buster that causes a concussion, a 12-second long stun that increases the damage you take, followed by another Odious Croak for stupidly high damage in a matter of seconds. This single attack caused 12,000 damage, and that's only because of how fast I got out of the Odious Croaks. If I wasn't careful, this could kill me from full health. But that's it. From here, Zurorogo runs through all 3 mechanics in a cycle until you or the big frog is dead. 14 minutes later, right before a toy hammer that would have ended the attempt, the frog song crescendos in our victory, and we're moving on. AoEs and heals, we've reached the second— oh my god, Ziggy, hi! Ziggy, the greatest little Spriggan we've ever seen, is a nice and easy boss filled with dodgeable AoEs. Their main mechanic is the 4 rocks they spawn around the arena. Starting as some ridiculously large AoEs, the rocks persist afterwards and float around at the 4 cardinal directions. Eventually, Ziggy attaches a tether to a player, which needs to be blocked by hiding behind a rock. Stepping away from the rock will put the tether back, and once the attack goes off, the rock will start a second AoE after breaking. After 2 rocks, Ziggy's tank buster, Jittering Jab, hits for 4,000 damage. Unfortunately for us, that's the whole fight. Goodbye, Ziggy. I'll always remember you. And now, to ruin the good memories of Ziggy, we're faced with the most nightmarish final boss in the game, Calcabrina. The fight starts with 6 dolls, 3 Calcas and 3 Brinas. The Calcas shoot conal AoEs in front of them, and Brinas make donuts. Once all 6 are dead, they hop into the middle and fuse to create the worst creature ever rendered in 3D. Terrifying Glance is a cone used on a random target that confuses you if you don't face away. Since we don't have any other party members, this just turns into a 10-second long stun. Knockout hits for 4,000 damage. Brace is the wing mechanic from Ravana, knocking you back if you hit any of the shielded sides. And the final mechanic, Dollhouse, traps us in a doll, hits us with a damage over time from a bleed, and spins us around for 25 seconds before the doll disappears and we get control again. And that's it. Thank the 12 I don't have to look at this thing anymore. For your sake, I'll skip the death cutscene this time. Just like that, as quickly as it started, the first of our dungeon rush was complete. With a new friend at our side, Ham, named after one of my mods, we're back to progressing the MSQ. 30 minutes later, we've unlocked the next dungeon, Sorkai. A crazy amount of progress for just 3 hours on solo, but I wasn't going to push my luck on learning a new dungeon today, so we get to work on an incredibly important grind. grind. Wondrous Tales, a weekly book we get from Chloe that, while we're below level 80 and have the Road to 80 buff, gives a guaranteed level on any combat class every week. This was all before Dawntrail, so these days it's the Road to 90 buff, but you get the idea. There are 2 things I need from Chloe's Book of Scams. 2 or 3 lines will get us a silver commendation, which we can use for the strongest gear we can access ornate crafted gear, and the easy leveling it provided. After rushing through some dungeons and suffering to Lightning Grandpa for a while, it's time. Every time we complete one of the objectives, a sticker is randomly placed on the board. Once you've placed 7 stickers, you can choose to shuffle the board using second chance points, which we can only get once per dungeon. They're a limited resource, but we can only hold a maximum of 9 at a time, so rather than let them go to waste, we spent some this time around to try and get those lines we need. If I get 2 lines, we're good. If I get 3 lines, we're perfect. Yeah, it's a 2 in 9 chance to get at least 2 lines, and at least 2 lines is enough. We're not going to take the time to see if we get 2 or 3 lines. I'm going to click these 2 as fast as we can and just see what we end up with. No, man. Oh, that sucks. Not so lucky, but that's okay. There's always next week, right? For now, we get a bronze certificate, which doesn't have any real use at the moment, 500 poetics, and level warrior to 75. The next day, we're up and ready to take on Sorkai. Thank you for the dead bodies, whoever delivered these to me. I did need this. It's a nice little snack before we get to work. Wondrous Tales in hand, the next dungeon begins. Cloud Gardeners, one of the few enemies that don't jump you in a group as soon as one spots you, go down relatively easy on their own, but we're lucky they don't all attack at once. Taking them on in a group becomes quickly unmanageable and ends with the first of many deaths in this video. Enchanted fans drop an air pad on their death, and if you fling yourself with it, you gain a haste buff, allowing you to attack faster for 30 seconds. Cool ad mechanics aside, we reach the first boss, Chieftain Moglin. Moglin summons Moogles throughout the fight, each with their own unique abilities. The Paladin covers the boss, making Moglin invincible until you take it down. The Rogue poisons you, and the Warrior has a dodgeable AoE. Killing the Moogles knocks them unconscious and starts Moglin's next mechanic. Palm Praise drops a circle on one of the unconscious Moogles. If they're in the circle when the cast finishes, they get revived at full health, but you can push them by dealing damage to knock them out of it. Shortly after the first Palm Praise, Moglin summons his staff, exploding in a plush shape and giving a vulnerability up to anyone hit. Then 4 more Moogles spawn. The Archer hits with constant auto attacks, the Bard buffs all of their damage, the Black Mage casts a massive AoE Palm Flare, and the White Mage heals the Moogles with Palm Cure. With 7 Moogles on the ground, Palm Praise targets 2 of them, and if you push them up against a wall, sometimes you can't get them back out and end up with a raised Moogle no matter how hard you try. From here, Moglin uses Palm Holy for raid-wide damage, summons his cane, and attempts to revive the Moogles with Palm Praise. Slowly, keeping track of all my Moogles, the first boss goes down, and we're moving on. There aren't any fun mechanics for the next enemies, just a lot of them. So we're on to the second boss, Pokiraj. From an instant tank buster, rear hoof, to high-hitting auto attacks, things weren't looking too good. Burning Bright shoots a cone at Pokiraj's target, and if it isn't aimed properly, it'll destroy some of the walls at the side of the arena, revealing a damaging lightning zone. Occasionally, they'll fly off and land at either side of the arena, dealing more damage the closer you are to their landing point and destroying a wall. Then, Gallop has the boss dash through the center of the arena, knocking you to the sides. If the walls aren't there to catch you, you'll be dropping into the lightning, giving it damage over time to add on to the ridiculous damage we were already taking. Cloud Call is the worst of the mechanics for solo, placing a cloud on top of its target with huge AoEs that destroy the walls they hit. With a badly placed cloud at just 75% health, almost all of the walls are destroyed.
I feel like there is maybe a problem with the situation at hand.
With better drops, the final 2 walls lasted until 50%, and then we were on our own. Arm's Length can save us from the knockback, but with a 2-minute cooldown, it would only be one time. Every mitigation, every heal, pushing Warrior to the limit of its abilities, we just barely managed to survive the lightning and move on towards the end. The final boss of Sorkai, Hraesvelgr. Wormclaw is a tank buster that deals 5,500 damage without mitigation. Hollow Dive has Hraesvelgr fly off to a random side of the arena and dash through the center for a large AoE. While he dashes, more AoEs drop in the only safe areas, forcing you to move quickly to avoid taking damage. Then we get a glimpse at a very problematic future mechanic, Morn. Quick, continuous party stack damage that gets even worse the next time we see it. Hollowed Wing deals damage to half of the arena on the glowing side, and Shiva's Diamond Storm freezes the arena. Forced to dodge a frigid dive with limited movement and AoEs after. Holy Breath targets every player for one final AoE, and we've seen all the mechanics for the fight. Aside from Wormclaw and Morn, health was easy to manage, so after 10 minutes of battle, Hraesvelgr falls on the first attempt, and the second dungeon of the day, Sorkai, is cleared.
Easiest game of my life. I'll take it. You know what? This is probably the easiest game anyone has ever made. Now that I look at it, now that I consider it for like a second. Bismarck isn't even that hard. I can't say that. That hurts. 55 minutes swift completion. We're 8 out of 9 on second chance points. Yeah, I'm happy.
With one of the first brood down, a single quest later, we're riding towards our next battle. For the final time, we face off against Nidhogg. Unlike his dungeon variant, while he can't use the Sable Price to deal 10 million damage, he hits much harder and has a lot more mechanics to keep track of. And his first phase puts a full stop to our attempts. Scarlet Whisper is an instant tank buster dealing 5,500 damage. Deafening Bellow is a raid-wide 1,800. Following a roar, eyes appear under each player, dealing damage if you don't make it out in time. Moving to the center, Hot Wing hits everything to Nidhogg's sides. Then Nidhogg hits with Scarlet Whisper, Deafening Bellow, and a second Scarlet Whisper before becoming untargetable. Dodging some AoEs, Touchdown shaves off another 1,000 HP, and a new cycle begins. 2 Deafening Bellows, Scarlet Whisper, an Eye Beneath Our Feet, and Hot Wing. Nidhogg goes back and forth between 2 Bellows and 2 Scarlet Whispers until the damage becomes too much to handle, all of our mitigations run out, and we fall to this battle of attrition. Just under 3 minutes of fighting to only deal 6% of the boss's health. It seemed manageable. I could keep up with the damage if I was perfect, but this was really going to be a marathon of a fight to handle on level sync. After another death at 94%, we leave and re-enter on Silence Echo. Now we need to talk about the weird way that Final Fantasy XIV handles level ups. I'll give you the SparkNotes version, and if enough people want it, I can do a more detailed explanation later, but to put it simply, every time we level up, the gear I'm wearing gets weaker. It doesn't lose any stats, but for example, and these are not accurate, it's just meant to make it easier to understand, 1,000 defense at level 60 does not equal 1,000 defense at level 78. Defense gives you a % damage reduction based on your level. At level 60, 1,000 defense may give you a 12% damage reduction, while at level 80 it only gives 8%. Which is why, while watching the Silence Echo fights, you'll notice that the Scarlet Whisper that previously hit for 5,500 damage was now hitting for 7,000 instead, and Deafening Bellow jumps up to 2,500. But there's still a plus side. The higher your level is, the more HP you get per point of vitality. All of this to say, while Silence Echo allows us to use more of our job's abilities and gets us more health, we end up taking much more damage as a trade-off, and explains, as best I can, why the Silence Echo run only made it 1% further than level sync. The second attempt died at 95%, so for now we put a pause on our dance with the Great Worm. Upgrades is the first thought, but since my gear is basically as good as it can get, there aren't really that many options. 2 more Shire Custodian rings and a bracelet are the only meaningful change we can make. With no real upgrade paths, the only thing left is to just get good and throw myself at the worm until I make some progress. But we had already seen a major success clearing Sorkai, so we end off the day with our wondrous tales.
Please, the 2-line chance. That's not a 2-line chance. Please, at least one. Oh my god! Come on, dude! It could have been 1, 2, 3, 4. It was literally a 50-50 chance. It was literally 50-50 for me to get a single line, and I lost.
And get Warrior to level 76. Back to work, we're on Silence Echo again. Half an hour of attempts, we were getting closer and closer to victory. With a mind-numbing gauntlet of perfectly managing my mitigations, our best run hit 80%, but I couldn't get better than that.
We died to this? Yeah, there's no getting around it. Okay. Super good run. Just do that again and don't mess up on the raw intuition.
and for the next 10 minutes, I couldn't even get back to it. Until we finally found a breakthrough. I mentioned earlier that Nidhogg moved to the center of the arena for Hot Wing, but I had only realized it this run, 11 deaths in. If I dragged Nidhogg out to the corner of the arena, he would take a slow walk back whenever he had to use it, giving us a few seconds where I wasn't taking damage. It wasn't a lot, but it was just barely enough to get us over the line. And finally, on the 12th attempt, Nidhogg hits 74%, becomes untargetable, and summons 3 adds. 3 adds that we had no way of surviving on Silence Echo. Can I outrun them? I cannot. Okay. The Shadow Falak and Brobignac each had a tank buster that hit for 5,500 damage, and with both of them targeting me, we were taking 11,000 damage every 10 seconds. The Shadow Dragon is off in its own little world, throwing out untelegraphed AoEs that are easy to dodge so long as you know where it is. There was no way for me to handle the damage they were dealing, and no way to kill them quickly, so my dreams of a Silence Echo clear came to an end. But there was still one more option before using the Epic Echo. Earlier, my best level sync run survived for 2 minutes and 52 seconds. If I started dragging Nidhogg to the corner and stealing some time with his animations, I could easily hit the time I needed to start stacking up the Echo. A 10% buff obtained after dying in a trial battle that lasted at least 3 minutes. An early death as I adjusted to my limited abilities, the second try gets us our first buff, and 15 minutes later, we've got the maximum of 50%. Now it's time for a real attempt. Huh. Ooh. Okay. That's not good. I think this is actually music change. Not so far. Wait. There we go. Goodbye. Oh, wait, that's livable. 35k? I'm at 50%, so I can't get more health than this. I don't think there's gonna be any way to live that. If we had Shake It Off, I could do it. The enrage for leaving the ads alive wasn't the usual 10 million, but I still had no way to get the 35,000 health I would need, so our level sync attempts come to an end. The only option left now is to break through with Epic Echo, a buff that gives us more than enough health to survive at 65,000. Pushing on to the ad phase, we managed to kill the Falak and Brobignac before the enrage starts, and with a big shield from Warrior Shake It Off, it's finally time to see the rest of the fight. Alamorn is a tank buster dealing 9,000 damage. Your Skogul is a dodgeable AoE, then Nidhogg jumps away and targets the party with 5 high jumps. And since I don't have any party members, all 5 of them hit me. Another line to dodge, super jump for proximity damage, and 3 high jumps that drop damaging areas where they land. At 60%, the phase ends and we're on to the final leg of the fight. Nidhogg, in his rage, coats himself in flame and brings back an attack I mentioned earlier, but this time we get to see the real version of it. Morn. That was an unlucky time, but it's fine, we should live it. 17k each! Never mind. Alright, that took everything. Oh my god! Balls of fire spawn, each exploding in a plus shape after a few seconds. Hot Wing returns, followed by Hot Tail hitting everything in front and behind Nidhogg. Deafening Bellow, Scarlet Whisper, and Morn again. Morn hits for the most damage on the first attack. Unmitigated, it took away 17,000 health. Every hit past that is weaker, but still hits for 10,000 at least. And to make it even worse, every time Nidhogg used Akmorn, he'd add 1 extra hit to it, all the way up to 7 in a row. Using the strongest mitigations we had, 7 hits from Akmorn dealt 56,000 total damage. Planning out all of my mitigations and heals, we survive hit after hit, and after 3 hours of attempts, Nidhogg falls, and the Dragon Song War reaches its conclusion. I will call that a just barely made it out of 10. That is ridiculous. I cannot believe I actually almost died to Akmorn on Epic Echo. What just happened, dude? That was amazing. And this was the easy part. Oh, what's that? You were checking how much longer was in the video because you thought it was almost over? Well, buckle up, buddy, because we still haven't reached that stupidly difficult dungeon I foreshadowed at the start of the video. 2 more dungeons stand between us and Stormblood, Xelphatol and Baelzur's Wall. Rushing through the MSQ once again, Xelphatol is unlocked and we're headed in level sync. These first enemies are easy to deal with, if a bit slow, but they come with a cool little mechanic you can use the next time you run this dungeon. If you lead the enemies into the falling rock AoEs, they'll gain a vulnerability up, increasing the damage your party deals to them and speeding up the run. Birds dead, we're on to the first boss, Nozal Huela, an Ixal on a balloon that sets the stage for the entire dungeon. So far now into Heavensward, the dungeons were starting to catch up to our armor and weapon, and Nozal wanted to be sure we knew about it. Short Burst is a tank buster for 2700 damage. There's a dodgeable line AoE, they really seem to like those recently, and then Nozal floats up into the air out of reach. 2 Ixali and a floating turret spawn, giving us a chance to heal up, and after the turret is killed, we get flung upwards at high speed. Standing below Nozal will burst his balloon and knock him back to the ground, making him targetable again. For his next mechanic, he summons air stones that tether to a target and make them invincible while they're still alive. And to end things off, Long Burst gives us Windburn, a damage over time that lasts for 15 seconds. Limiting the amount of time we can attack him was one thing, but Nozal pushed us down to our last hair's breadth of HP quite a few times throughout the fight. Thankfully, the ad phases gave us a chance to heal up while tanking less hits, giving us just enough health to survive the fight. But this had made it clear as day. We were almost at the point now where even Warrior's healing wouldn't be enough. This wasn't going to be the easy victory lap to Stormblood I had been hoping for. Just for my own sake, I'm just gonna throw... I cannot discard Dragon Song? Come on. A couple elevators in Gobu later, we've reached the second boss, Dotoli Salak. Yes, all the pronunciations are going to be wrong in this video. Are you really surprised at this point? On low is a slow-casted cone in front of the boss. On high is a knockback, shooting you out of the arena and into a set of spikes if you don't have a wall to catch you. Dark Wings is an AoE on every party member, and then Swift Feather, a cast that gives the boss haste, speeding up all its other cast times, followed immediately by an on low. With almost no time to react, we get hit for 6,000 damage. Stormcoming makes 2 of the walls unsafe to use for dodging the next on high, and we've seen the entire fight. But that doesn't mean it was easy from here. That haste into on low was a devastating combo. Stacked up with the boss's auto attacks, we go from 10,000 HP to 0 in less than a second. Second attempt, we keep ourselves safe by constantly moving while haste is up, and Dotoli goes down shortly after. Sliding by on a zipline, we've reached the final boss, Tozal Huatotl. Where's his face? Hold on. Oh, I see. He's got like a mouth there. Now it makes sense. Okay. Aside from another boss pushing us to the bottom of our health bar with just auto attacks and tank busters, 90% of this fight is dodging AoEs, making it a pretty easy one to handle. There are multiple attacks that share the name Hawk, but the only one that really matters to us is the party stack, dealing 5,500 damage. AoEs and party stacks. This is the easiest boss of the entire dungeon and goes down on the first attempt. Xelphatol complete. "12 quests later, we've reached Baelzur's Wall, a fitting name for our final dungeon. Starting things off level synced, we're immediately met with a reality check. Synced down to the maximum gear level for this dungeon, we're brought down not once, but twice by just the first set of enemies, followed up by the first boss, the Magitech Predator. It starts with, actually, no. I'll just let you see it for yourself. That did 8k. Magitech Missile dealt 7,693 damage alongside an ad that tethers to us for constant 700s and the boss's auto attacks. Magitech Claw is a tank buster for 6,600 damage. Sky Armor spawn at a random corner of the arena, tethering to you for as long as they're alive. And Magitech Missile marks a target as prey, waiting 3 seconds before dealing 7,693 damage, with mitigation this time. This attack wasn't affected by my damage reduction, but it must have been a strange coincidence, right? Attacks in Final Fantasy XIV normally have a range of damage they can deal, but it's not really that big, so maybe it was just 7,693 damage every single time. Something was happening here that I didn't understand, but the unreducible damage from Missile made it impossible to progress any further. Our best run got the boss to 82%, and Balser's Wall was our new wall. Desperate to figure out what was happening, we head out to get some more priestly omelets and head back in on level sync once again. Food buff on, we brace for impact as the Magitech Missile hits for 8,070 damage? Why was it different now? What changed? What had I done to make... My health went up. Food buffs increase your health, and suddenly the damage was higher than before. Magitech Missile was hitting for 8,070 damage, exactly half of my maximum health. And there was no saving grace here. The missile was a constant throughout the entire fight. We had already seen all the mechanics. There was no breakpoint where it would get easier. Level sync was impossible, so now it's time for Silence Echo. With more healing options and more health, this should be enough for us to break through and see the rest of the dungeon.
I cannot believe I'm still having this much trouble even on Silence Echo. I'm dead. Oh my god, dude. Oh, I can't do this right now, man. I come in here Silence Echo, and there's genuinely no difference. It is just as difficult. This is going to be exhausting.
There was no way around it. That first boss on its own would require us to run the entire dungeon with Epic Echo's 200% buff if I wanted a chance at winning.
Okay, I Epic Echo it. Like what else do I do at this point? I mean, the 50% is just ridiculous.
Until one of the other solos told me about a new way forward. It was possible to complete this dungeon on Silence Echo, but not with Warrior. The damage I was taking was far too high, and there was no amount of healing in my abilities that could counteract it. But there was another option. One that I had never considered before, and likely one of the only 2 classes that could clear this fight. Sage. Constant self-heals, shields the size of entire health bars. Sage could easily manage the damage we were taking. Or it should have. As per usual, I don't take quest rewards to unlock a class if there's an equivalent weapon I can use instead, and we had some options. Dragon Song's Reprise, the ultimate tier fight set with Heavensward as the theme, has weapons for every class in the game. But those weapons needed a basic model, a version of them without all the glowy effects. And so, Square retroactively added Sage weapons to Thornton's EX trial. For the first time, I'd have the chance to obtain new gear through a fight and unlock a class with it. So it's once again time to dethrone a Pope. Yeah, okay, not really. Yeah, no, man, come on. How do I die to just the normal dude? Oh, that sucks. With my current gear, I could handle all the mechanics and live through the entire fight, but extremes unfortunately come with an enrage, and I had hit the last mechanic. If I hadn't died to Sir Zephlin, I would have died shortly after when Thornton forcefully ended the fight. So the easy way was taken from us, but there was still another weapon we could get. Oddly enough, I didn't even have to defeat Thornton to get his Sage weapons. There was a normal, craftable version that could be made without ever completing the fight.
I level 180, so it very quickly gets replaced when we're farming in Palace, but we'll at least have it for a while.
Before we can get them, we need some small gatherer upgrades, so I unlock the geological folklore books to get some rare materials out in the world and grab a new set of miner tools with scripts. Custom deliveries gets my goldsmith to level 64, and we're off to the Sea of Clouds to start collecting materials.
I never unlocked flight in the Sea of Clouds, and I'm pretty sure the legendary node requires flight.
Rushing to unlock flight before the legendary node despawns, we grab the final Aether Current and miss the node we wanted. But there was another node up in the Churning Mist that we just barely had the time to make it to.
How long is your white beard now, Grit? You know, some days, sometimes for brief moments, you just gotta think that they could have let that legendary node stick around for another minute or two, you know? Why did they have to get rid of it the second I got over to it?
Everything in the game is just Yoshi P using sock puppets to spite you. The gathering nodes may hate me, but we continue on all the same. 3 glass fibers, smithsonite ore, crystallized sap, astral moraine for light-kissed aether sand, blue mithrite ore, 27 razic sap, iron ore, icon mithrite and metal, mithrite ore, a full set of goldsmith crafting gear, platinum ore, rarefied somalt hearts for scripts, copper ore, rose gold nuggets and cogs to make a high-quality calibrated rose gold cog, which unlocks Master Goldsmith 2 recipes and allows us to make platinum ingots, then luminous fibers, heaven's egg soup, a new blacksmith offhand, high mithrite ingots, an icon iron ingot, and finally, after one of the longest crafting sections I've ever had for a single item, we've got our high quality Milpreves of the round, and Sage is properly unlocked. Now the goal was to get Sage to a higher level, with our best chance becoming available at level 76 when we unlock Hollows. For our main leveling method, we use the weekly Wondrous Tales and challenge logs. Palace of the Dead can supplement this if we really need it, but at level 70, it wasn't going to get us much progress. This was the stream immediately after I made some questionable choices with my life, and the game decided to help me commemorate that moment. Horse! Horse, 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 horse. New horse obtained, baby!
Is it the Mountain Dew? I can't escape it. I bought 43 bottles of Mountain Dew Frostbite, and would you believe it? I got the Frostbite horse. And now I get to give everybody a wonderful reading of The Boy and the Dragon Gang.
The boy's chocobo reared in fright, sending him tumbling down the mountainside to his nigh certain demise.
There's your story time. Was that good?
With the Wondrous Tales for the day done, Sage hits level 71. We grab a Shire Preceptor's chest and pants, run some challenges in the Masked Carnival for a burst of poetics, complete some challenge logs to hit level 72, run through Palace, and head over to Idyllshire to buy some new Sage gear. Preceptor's gloves purchased, we're still a bit off finishing the set. A first time clear of Copperbell Hard for more poetics and a second chance point. We briefly considered crafting some accessories to fill out our gear, but we'd get enough poetics soon to have all of it as Shire, so there wasn't any real need to. The Vana Society gets us the small boost of poetics we need to purchase a Shire Preceptor's hat, and we use our Centurio seals for boots, earrings, and a bracelet. With most of our gear upgraded, we needed to see just how difficult this fight was going to be, so we head into Baelsar's Wall once again. The perfect chance to talk about the 2 major roadblocks to clearing this fight. The first, I didn't play Sage, basically ever, so I'd have to learn this class from scratch under the highest stress circumstances imaginable. And more importantly, this is the first caster class we've ever used, which means we have to talk about the caster tax. I'll try and be brief with this while you get a first-hand look at what all of the fights in this dungeon are going to look like. There are 4 major groups of jobs in this game: tanks, melee DPS, physical range DPS, and casters. This is the eye level 270 equipment for all of those groups. Do you notice anything? Every class here has an equal amount of physical defense and magic defense, except the caster's armor. Casters have slightly increased magical defense, but in return they have reduced physical, which is a major problem when the tank buster from this boss, the Magitech Claw, is a physical attack. On top of that, casters have the lowest health in the entire game. All of this coming together, plus restricted movement for cast times, is the caster tax. From the range they can attack from, damage they can deal, and all of the healing that some of them can do, they are by far the easiest class for a physical boss to kill. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let me show you what all of this amounts to. My first try was obviously not great. I didn't have a shield up, I hadn't used Caracol to mitigate the damage, so let's take a look at another attempt. Even with shielding and damage reduction, the tank buster was hitting for more than my max health. A few more attempts later, the only way I could survive the tank buster was with a crit shield, giving us more than double the usual boost. But to rely on consistently getting a critical heal every time over the hundreds of times the boss was going to use this would be a madman's grind. Relying on crits wasn't something I could bring myself to do. I was at the lowest I had ever been. It felt like I had finally found something that I couldn't do, not because it was impossible, but just because I wasn't good enough. I can't do it today. I can't do it. That's the end of it. Maybe I come back another day for this, but no, I absolutely can't right now. Through my frustration, we worked out a plan. Right now, the things I needed most was a full set of Shire gear and Holos at level 76. The Shire equipment for higher max health and more mind to increase our healing, and Holos for an on-command shield with 10% damage reduction. The week after, Wondrous Tales gets us to level 73 and our Shire boots. Then some Masked Carnival gets us the Shire earring and bracelet. I still didn't have a Preceptor's necklace or rings, but I had the accessories from my tank gear, so we at least had the max health out of our armor. Now, we had enough health to survive the tank buster, so we try again, but it still wasn't enough. The tank busters were almost always followed by an auto attack, and surviving with just 300 health after the first hit, they were more than enough to kill us. 29 total deaths to the Magitech Predator. We still needed to do more. Level 74 and 75 from challenge logs, and questing to try and hit 76. We had some time on our hands waiting for the weekly resets, so I decided to chase down a goal I've held close to my chest for the entire challenge. I always wanted Solo to have his very own home, and we almost had enough gil to try and buy one. For the last 50,000 gil, we can make use of leaves, daily hunts, and the vault. As a blue mage, running through the vault and killing all the enemies before the first boss can get you around 6,000 gil in 1 to 2 minutes. But for now, I wasn't confident with blue mage, and warrior does it too slowly to be a good substitute, so we finished the last 7,000 gil with birch syrup leaves. With his singular leave turn-in, Solo finally has the money for a house. It's time to go house shopping. And boy, did we find a good one. It is not enough to buy the actual house, but it is enough to get the plot, and then once we have the plot, we will have 45 days to purchase the actual house. This is so insanely perfect for our silly little Solo. Look at this. This is amazing. This is perfect. This has to be it, right? And there are 0 participants. We enter the lottery, I understand, have your 3 million gil. Now we're out of money. We didn't have enough gil for teleports, let alone the 450,000 I'd need if we won the house. Using up our adamantite for adamantite rivets fills our wallet again, and we rest until the next stream. This is the house. Wait, nobody's built it. Nobody's built it? Hold on. Oh my god, we got a house. And we are the sole entrant. The Solo only continues. We did not have to cheat to get a house. I am the only one that participated in the lottery. Oh my god, I love that. Wondrous Tales gets Sage to level 76 and unlocks Holos, the final piece of the puzzle. But our hearts were set on making money. Spamming runs of the vault, we're 50,000 gil away from our home and decide to finish things off another day. Then it was time. Hunt logs for Centurio seals and some quick gil, and finishing off with more vault runs, we had all of the money we needed, and Solo's very own home was created. We had stalled for long enough that my Sage was finally ready. One final upgrade. I took the gamble, believing I wouldn't return to the Palace of the Dead, and spent the last of my Aether Pool to get Padjali Milpreeves the second strongest Sage weapons in Heavensward. My gear was perfect. I had all of the levels I needed. There were no excuses anymore. Once I entered the wall, I would either come back out a failure or the greatest sage I had ever been. So we enter Baelsar's wall. One more time. Good luck. Oh my god! There we go, dude! Okay! Oh, I've got an hour. Okay, we've got an hour. We've gotta go. Magitech Predator down. It's a race against the clock. With how low Sage's damage is, we would only have time for 2 deaths at most. The rest of this run had to be perfect. Losing 10 minutes to a seemingly endless conveyor belt of enemies, we reach the second boss, the Armored Weapon. Launcher is a weak raid-wide attack. Distress Beacon summons 15 Magitech slashers, pushing us to the limit of our healing by sheer overwhelming number. And Dynamic Sensory Jammer marks its target with extreme danger. If you move or attack while this is active, you'll be hit for massive damage. Magitech bits spawn, leaving a cross grid of AoEs, but they don't pose much of a threat. After nearly a dozen close calls and a 10-minute long battle of attrition, the Armored Weapon goes down on the first try, and we're on the final stretch. 33 minutes left on the clock. We're at the final boss, the Griffin. Claw of the Griffin is a physical tank buster, dealing 5,500 damage through a crit shield, so probably closer to 8,000 or 9,000 total. Lion's Head drops a blade of the Griffin at each cardinal and intercardinal direction, dealing a small amount of damage on landing and finishing with a raid-wide of 4,000 damage. Then each sword starts to cast corrosion. The arena becomes covered in AoEs, and the only way to avoid getting hit is to kill a sword before the cast finishes. While we're focused on them, the Griffin casts Flash Powder, a gaze mechanic that blinds you if you don't turn away, and Big Boot, knocking his target across the arena. Sword dead and corrosion dodged. He jumps to an edge of the arena for Sanguine Blade, with a small dodge area right behind the boss. Beak of the Griffin is more raid-wide damage, and there's only one mechanic left: Restraint Collar. This targets the party's healer, fettering them just like Nidhogg did with the Sable Price. If the Restraint Collar isn't killed, the healer dies. It was the end of our run. There was no way for us to get past this. That is, if he ever used it. But as the only player in the arena, the game doesn't consider me a healer. It considers me a tank. So he never uses Restraint Collar. And so, with nothing stopping us, the Griffin falls and Baelsar's Wall is complete. Baelsar's Wall is finished, and Heavensward is done, dude. All right. One try. As soon as that first boss was down, the rest was one try. Finally, on the 32nd attempt, we get our bullpup, Gaius, and the final wall of Heavensward is over. We are free. Oh, I love him so much. Elated with my accomplishments, barely able to recognize myself, this truly felt like an achievement. From our humble beginnings, we've made it through yet another expansion, with a final time of 472 hours. For over a year now, I've been barraged with questions on Solo's End, with everyone talking about one thing: Susanoo. And right here and now, I'll tell you. In these final moments, as we head towards the expansion I've been dreading since the very beginning, we've already done the impossible once beating Bismarck, and we found a way to do it again. I'll be clearing Susanoo completely solo. I'll see you in Season 3.
My God! Yes! Yes! Oh!
Come on, no, okay! Oh. As we got floated up, are you kidding me, dude? Let's go! Gordon falls on the first attempt to a solo, level-synced warrior. Please tell me I have enough health! Please! Yes!